Live from beautiful downtown Bastrop, it's time for the Stage Select, starring Julian Titus and Justin Ham.
What could this possibly be? Seems a lot like a podcast. Wonder what specifically. Talking about video games. With your hosts, you're in good hands. Not more of the same. Now we'll jump right in. So expect the unexpected and more. Now we'll get grooving. There ain't always gonna walk through the door. There just might be some strategy in this. Just having fun with a special guest. Time for Stage Select.
And here are your hosts, Julian Titus and Justin Ham.
But yeah, that thing is nice. Sure, mics are very good. They're very good.
I'm really sure about them.
Yeah, sure. You could do that.
Yeah.
Why not? You already did it.
Welcome, one and all, to the Stage Select. I'm Julian Titus.
And I'm Justin Ham. Hi. I'm drinking not an Our Family water, but a Kroger purified drinking water.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Moving up in the world.
Not really.
Lateral shift.
Well, but to, Kroger's purified drinking water, I will say much better quality bottle.
Okay.
Much better quality bottle. Not by much, but a better quality bottle. I'm also drinking a strawberry milkshake from McDonald's, which is fine. I don't know why I'm drinking so much at the same time. But
Yeah, that's not like you, but
No, I usually have like 2 or 3 different things, and I just silently switch between them all show. Like there's usually like a Coke.
You usually have a Coke. Yeah.
But usually I have a water before that, and sometimes a Monster that I'm sort of drinking all of those at once.
Yeah.
And now I do have a Monster, but I also have a strawberry milkshake and a purified drinking water and a Coke over there in the far corner in case I need it.
Oh man, I'm envious of your non-diabetes having ass. Every time that you bring that like Coke can to your lips, I'm just like, oh.
Well, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
I'm sure I'll get it someday. The diabetes fairy will come for me at some point, I'm sure.
I still maintain the theory that like you'll be fine, and then one day just like drop
Stage
dead.
4 cancer. Yeah, that'll be my luck. Yeah.
Yeah, like diagnosed and then pass away in like the span of a week.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be good. At least I don't have to, sit there and worry about it, I guess. I'm just like, what's happening? Whatever.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Let's be done.
Yeah. I talked to my dad this week, and that's an interesting experience because we've had like almost the exact same conversation every time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was always a forgetful person, but it's definitely interesting to see how much that's progressed since he was in his 30s.
Yeah.
And so I get like the same information like every time, and it's always like who died and of what, and who has this, and like how bad all of my relatives on his side of the family are doing health wise. And it's like, oh man, I know this is part of like getting older is
Yes.
like that's kind of all you have going on in your life.
My grandmother used to she would subscribe to the paper almost specifically so she could read the obituaries to see who she has outlived or had outlived.
Yeah, that she knew.
That was fun to her. And she was like, oh, I knew them. Got him. I was like, all right. Well.
Got him.
Yeah, got him. I don't know really what her goal was, but I remember her mentioning this to me, and I was like, all right, that seems insane to me, but okay, you do you. Live your life.
She was in a really like she was in the like part of the largest tontine in human history.
Right.
And she was just like trying to see if she got to cash in or not.
I mean, yeah, she outlasted a lot of people. So, what are you going to do? Oh, man.
Well, I'm going to make a couple quick announcements before we jump into things.
Sure, why not?
First off, you can listen to me on a recent episode of Games My Mom Found, episode 308. That is the episode where we talked about God Hand. a game that I fucking hate.
A lot of people similar to you.
I don't think so.
No. There is no in between on that game.
There is no in between on it for sure.
No, you either love it or you hate it. There is no in between.
It's definitely a game that I think more people love than hate. And, you know, like, I think a big thing is that, like, IGN got raked over the coals for giving it a 3 out of 10 at the time.
Yes.
And I'm like, and I said in the episode, I was like, honestly, like, if I was reviewing this on the IGN scale, I'm probably giving it like a 4.5.
Yeah.
If that, but probably closer to a 4,
right.
Because I think the act of actually touching that game, like when I touch those controls, it's like recoiling in horror because it feels awful to me.
It's like, I think the thing is you only hear from the people that love it.
That's another thing too. Yes.
It is the loudest minority that are into that game, and then everybody.
And it is 100% a game for frame data. Sickos.
Oh yeah, it absolutely 100%.
And I watched like Wooly and Pat go through it, and that gave me a lot of good context for the game, and I got to see somebody who was more than competent at it, like going through it. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but there's still no excuse for this game not having a lock on, or like not having camera controls, or especially for when it was made. Like there's no excuse for that. Like sometimes you can be like, oh well, the time, like they were still figuring out. But it's like, no, they had it pretty well figured out by 2006.
You would think. Yeah.
But you can listen to me and Mike and another guest talk about that. And then also, this is the last call for questions on our Patreon page for our Patreon AMA. We'll actually be recording that like after we record the final episode of the year.
Yep.
And I don't know when that'll actually be, but I would still rather like get questions in before that last episode drops, which will be on Christmas Day for the public feed.
Oh boy.
Yeah. It's funny because like this month is already over for me in my head because we've got so many things like lined up. For the show, and so I'm just trying to like keep all of that in my head in a row and be like, okay, so got to get this ready. And I realized that I overbooked us next week, and so I actually took next Friday off simply to have time to like edit together, because we always, for new listeners that just found us this year, Justin and I always watch the Game Awards together. And then last year I did a thing where I actually recorded us like the entire thing, and I released it as like a special episode of Nerds Without Pants. And so I want to do that again this year, but I'm going to do 2 different versions of it. One for executive producer tier patrons is going to have the actual Game Awards audio track with it, so it's all synced up and you can like kind of experience the whole show as we were watching it. And then the free feed is going to be, and also, lower tier patrons is going to be just our audio. And then if you want to sync it up with YouTube, then I'll have instructions on how to do that. But
there you go.
Otherwise, that's how it's going to be. But I was like, when am I going to edit that?
Yeah, good luck.
Or like, when am I going to put that together? Like, there's no time, because then on Saturday, because Friday then we're recording an episode, and then Saturday is our game of the year thing. And I'm like, fuck, like there's no time.
Yeah.
So, I do have plenty of time to edit that last Game of the Year episode.
Right.
Still. So that's where we're at with that. Looking forward to recording that. Looking forward to the end of the year. Also,
Me
to our
too.
hiatus.
Yeah.
Holy shit, I'm tired.
Me too, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't even do near as much as you do. And I'm still like, need a break.
Yeah. And I'll get more into it in our final episode of the year, like that, because that's going to be similar to what we used to do for our last episode of the year at the old show, but I think with an added twist of kind of also talking about like the podcast itself and like where we're at and like where we'd like to see the show next year and stuff like that. Justin, I've got a lot of stuff, and you said you don't have a lot of stuff. Do you want me to like kind of start it off this week?
However you want to do it, Julian. I don't mind.
Okay. I guess I'll start it off.
Okay.
I'll kind of do like I did last week, which is start with closing thoughts on one of the games that I finished since last episode.
Okay.
Which is I did finish Life is Strange Double Exposure.
Okay.
I really enjoyed Life is Strange Double Exposure when all was said and done.
All right.
I think of the 5 Life is Strange games, it's in my number 4 slot.
Okay.
It's like right under the original Life is Strange, which means that like it was like one game off from being like a don't nod to trifecta in the first 3. But again, there's just shit about like the way Max is written in this game that just like I never clicked with. And the more the game goes on, the more it feels like it is just her. Like everybody else is great, and I just don't know what it is about. I really can't put my finger on it. And it's even beyond just like some of the weird shit she says. Like some of it is just like reactions to things where, you know, because like all of the games, like whenever you would examine stuff, like the character will have an inner monologue or a comment about something. But her tone in those inner monologues, especially as the game gets heavier, is like, really? That's how you guys wanted her to read that line, huh? Like
Apparently,
that happy-go-lucky? Okay. Sure, I guess. And it's funny because you had mentioned that Patrick Klepek had said that he was out and then he was back in a really big way, and then like he was like out at the very end.
Yeah.
And I think I know what it is now, and I can say this without spoiling anything.
Okay.
And I think this actually says more about him than it does about the game. It says at the very end, Max Caulfield will return. In white text on a black background, which is, you know, obviously like the MCU does that in most of their movies.
Okay.
But it's also just, that was a callback initially to like the James Bond movies. And I think what it is that Patrick Klepek, like a lot of people, have become so sensitive to anything that reminds them of the MCU.
Could be.
That it colors their perception of everything. Again, you know, I don't know exactly what his feelings were. So
I'm not actually sure that's what it was, because the way it made it sound, it was a story thing.
Well, there's a setup right before the ending, like right at the very end for a sequel, which they've never really done before.
Okay, I think that that might have been it. Yeah.
But again, it's like, okay, sure. You know, they've already made it clear that these characters are all existing at the same time.
Right.
You know, I think that the actual like setup for it is a little clumsy, but it's not terrible. And it's like, okay, I mean, I want more of these. I love this series. I think my only complaint is like, right, but what if Alex Chen returned? Because I like Alex a lot more. She's the one from True Colors.
Okay.
I just as a character, I like her a lot more.
Right.
Nobody comes close to Chloe, but Chloe's dead, so
yeah,
you can't bring her back for anything.
I mean, you probably could if you tried hard enough.
I mean, there's time travel, so you definitely can.
Yeah.
I will say that they were surprisingly restrained with that in this game. But no, I mean, I think it's a very good game.
But liked it, yes.
I definitely have been thinking about a lot since I finished it. I'm constantly thinking about my list. 'Cause, I mean, you know, the nice thing about the way that our Game of the Year works is that, you know, we have to come up with the show's list, but then we've got until we come back from hiatus to solidify our personal lists.
Yeah.
So I don't have to really worry about it right now, but I'm like, it's definitely on the list right now. I just don't know where it'll ultimately fit, or if it remains there, you know, if I play a couple more things, because they're like, I downloaded Infinity Nikki yesterday that I haven't tried. Indiana Jones is available on Game Pass next week, which is apparently reviewing really well. So
apparently, yeah, I was kind of surprised to see that, but then again, not too surprised. But
I'm surprised. I like considering, you know, because like I felt that like a lot of the sentiment was what we'd echoed, which is like, I don't really want to see an Indiana Jones video game, especially from this team, right? Like I want them to either work on another Wolfenstein game to finish that story, or if they're not doing that, something completely new, that, you know, they seem really jazzed about, because this really smacked of like, well, we're going to put you guys on this project, and it's like, well, but we were already like in the planning phases for Wolf. No. Put that down. Put your pencils down. Yeah. And it's like, well, okay. Like, that's kind of how it feels.
It could be.
So it is nice to hear that it seems to be.
At least it turned out good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a thing where I'm going to play it and enjoy it, and you're going to, if you play it, you're going to bounce right off, because it's pretty puzzle heavy, apparently.
Oh, yeah. So. No, I'm not even going to bother then. What's the point?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care about Indiana Jones for one, and two, if it's puzzle heavy, get fucked. I don't really care.
That's what I thought.
And it's in first person. Yeah, no, I'm good, actually. I'm really okay on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed Life is Strange Double Exposure. I really liked the characters. There are some weird things that happen and I think part of this, I think part of it is glitches, and another part of it is just that I think there's like some stuff that's missing that might have like inadvertently got cut that made things a little confusing towards the end. When you're switching between different timelines where different things are happening, like sometimes you'll hear comments in one timeline where it's like, I think that's supposed to be in the other timeline. Because since you can listen in on the other timeline, like no matter where you're at, I think sometimes that audio bleeds in when it's not supposed to, and that can be really that can throw you off.
Okay.
And then there's very specifically like a character in one of the timelines where you go to tell him what's going on in the second timeline, but it's like, wait, when did you, like, we never had a scene where we kind of brought him up to speed about the final part of this situation. And it's very easy to just be like, okay, well, clearly, like, between the last fade out and here, we've said it to him, but I really felt like that should have been a scene for that character. So, just little things like that. But, overall, I thought it was like a really cool, like, kind of evolution of Max's powers.
That's cool.
And I liked a lot of the supporting cast. I actually, I don't know how people are going to feel about this if they play it, but her love interest, there's two potential love interests in the game. So I'm just going to, the waitress at the bar, or the owner of the bar, who runs the bar. She has like more than one moment where it's like, oh man, like you're such a likable character. And then you said that shit. And there's enough times of that where I'm like, oh, I kind of regret having Max try to get with you because you're clearly not going to be a very supportive partner. So I don't know if you deserve Max.
Right.
But her character was really cool. I love the design, and like, I don't know if they're doing like full motion capture for this or if it's just hand animation, but there's like some great, just like incidental animations, like the way characters stand and kind of, gesture and stuff like that. That's like just so, just very nice.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. I'm glad that I was able, it was just really that first play session where I was like, oh, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
And then I definitely came around after that.
That's good.
I'm glad that it stuck the landing, at least for me. Again, I can see why other people would be like, upset that it sets up a sequel, but like, I don't know, like everything sets up sequels. And if anything, like they're 5 games in, like, and they've never actually set up a sequel before. Right. So like, it's fine.
At the same time, it is your, how many of these have you played?
I played all 5.
Okay, and it's your 4th favorite one.
Yeah, but I've liked all 5.
You liked them all. You're a big fan of the series for the most part.
I am. Yeah. Life is Strange 2 might have like actually. So if I had like more of like a familial thing, then Life is Strange 2 could
I remember that
potentially
not
be
hitting.
above.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't have that. So like the whole thing with the 2 brothers in Life is Strange 2 kind of leaves me a little bit cold.
I got you.
So there's that aspect. I can totally see like some people being like, no, that's my favorite. It's like, no, I get it. Like, it's a great game. And it's just, I don't give a shit about family, and I don't have a sibling. So like, this is kind of not working on 2 levels for me.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Yeah.
I guess I'll say real quick, and then we can switch to you, and then switch back. I don't know why, Justin, but for some reason I searched Blood Omen Legacy of Kain on PlayStation because they had released that PS1 version of it.
Right.
And I was like, okay, cool. I wonder how much that is. And it was free for me for some reason, and it did not seem to be because of PlayStation Plus, because it wasn't like the yellow membership thing or anything that. It just said free, and I was like, well, I'm gonna snag that because duh. And I was very excited. Like, I instantly like installed it because I wanted to see. I wanted to see one specific thing. Okay. So I was like, okay, this game has one. Well, I mean, it's an old. It's from like 1996. It's got a lot of like old timey issues, but there's one specific issue that I'm hoping bringing it onto a modern system would fix, which is the goddamn load times.
Oh yeah.
I fire the game up and I go through the intro and I'm like, oh man, this is hitting again. Like, I fucking love this game. And then it loads like the first like area. I'm like, well, that was kind of lengthy, but you know, maybe that's just whatever. And then I went to go to the menu to bring up your equipment and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it loaded just as long as it did on the PS1. And I was like, oh, God damn it. That's such a bummer. They did add trophy support to it. And apparently that Soul Reaver collection has put a lot of the cut content from those games back in. And if that's the case, I actually do kind of want to play all 3 of these games again, because Soul Reaver 1 and 2 famously had a shit ton of stuff left on the cutting room floor. Like there's basically like half of Soul Reaver 1 was cut, and then that eventually became Soul Reaver 2. And even Soul Reaver 2 had a bunch of shit that didn't make it into the final game. Yeah. And they did like a bunch of the work at the time. They just didn't have time to implement it.
Put it in, yeah.
There's a lot of like really cool like YouTube channels that will show explorations of the cut areas and stuff like that. So if they did the work to integrate as much of that stuff back into the games as they could, that's cool. And I don't want them to like completely like turn Blood Omen Legacy of Kain into like a full like behind the back third person remake with like the fanciest graphics. I wouldn't mind just like a remake that is the same perspective, same type of game, but modernized, but done from the ground up, but just done like on a budget with like, you know, like not going for like super high polished graphics, but just something that like is playable, because like it's got an excellent story, it's got an excellent vibe, it's got cool puzzles, it's got cool like weapons and armor and items, and like one of the things I always loved about that first game is every single thing that you pick up, Kain has a monologue describing said item or piece of equipment or spell, and it's the most edgy like Kain shit.
That sounds
so
fun.
good.
Yeah,
you know, your healing item is the Heart of Darkness. It's like the first item you pick up, and you pick it up, and Kain is like,
reputed to have been ripped from the chest of the greatest vampire to have ever existed, Janos Audron, the Heart of Darkness restores vampiric unlife. Life is precious, Janos discovered, as it was torn, throbbing and bleeding from his own body.
This is
That's
good.
Just the description for like the first item that you pick up, man. And they're all like that. It's fucking awesome.
That's fun. That's good. I like that.
But yeah, but adding trophy support is cool. Like it's neat that they do that for all of those like classic games added to the store.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that stuff works, but I would have figured that like just the act of putting it on a new system would fix those load issues. But I guess it's a more fundamental baked in thing.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Must be. And it probably won't ever really fix that stuff. That's probably just going to have to be a thing people deal with. I'm going to guess to play it. But
you can't just throw hardware at it. Like you have to do something like under the hood too.
Yeah, I would have thought it was like that though, where you could, just putting it under a faster thing would help it load. But no, apparently not. Which yeah.
And if it was just a matter of like loading between areas, that's one thing. But again, it loads anytime you go to your menu. It loads anytime that you enter a building. And there's a lot of like places where it's like there's a full on town, and so you're going from like outside to into this little building just to pick up one item to then go immediately outside. So it adds up over time.
Oh yeah, it sure does.
And the loads are like 20 seconds or more. Like it
it shit gets annoying after a while. Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. Well, that's that, I guess. Let's see. I guess it's my turn. What did I do? Well, I got sick like I don't know, Saturday night, really. But then Sunday was like, okay, I have a cold now. This is great. It wasn't anything crazy or anything, but I'm still feeling it a little bit, but nothing nuts. So Sunday I was just like, you know what? I'm going to just play some more Hitman because that sounds good to me. And so I played a lot of Hitman. I think I played through the entire first one. And then I got to the second one. And it's funny, I still find stuff in those games where I'm like, oh, I didn't actually know that this level worked like this. Like
that's what I love about those games. And Hitman 2, though, like that first level, like isn't the first level the racetrack?
The first level is technically it's that is Hawke's Bay. It's that like house or whatever that you have to break into.
Right.
But the,
like,
first real level is Miami. Yes, it is. It is the racetrack.
Like, it was a great first impression because it's like, this is orders of magnitude.
Oh, it's great.
Larger than anything that Hitman 1 had.
Yeah.
And then it's so intricate and there's so many like things that you can find. And do.
Miami. I'll get into that. It's funny that, well, we're here now. Why not? I discovered like a new way to do that, which was kind of great. Okay, so you can, if you know where you're going in that level, you can break into like the spot where the dude is, and I always forget his name. But the guy he has a daughter who's racing and all that stuff. Okay, so if you break into that place, if you make it to the roof of the building, you can go out onto this little balcony, and there's a satellite that's there. And if you sabotage this satellite, he will come to see what's wrong with it. And the best way to do it is to disguise yourself as one of his bodyguards, go out there, do it, and then just kind of hang out in the area. And he'll eventually make his way up there, and he'll start fixing it. And he'll be like, it looks messed up, and he's like kind of leaning over the stuff and fixing it and doing all this stuff. But eventually, as his daughter comes around the track, he will stop and go, "There's my car," and he'll walk over to the edge of the thing, and he starts looking over at it, and you can push him off into the car and kill both of them at the same time.
Oh, that is so fucking cool.
It's great. I was like, that is awesome. I need to do that. Because I seen it in the challenges. I was like, oh, how do I do that? And so I kind of looked it up real quick. I was like, oh, I know right where that's at. Like, I know this level well enough to where I was looking at that spot not too long ago. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went and did it. It was great. That stuff like that. The one that I had kind of a revelation on was actually the one right before it, the little like training level. It's kind of like the tutorial level of Hitman 2, which was Hawke's Bay. All it is you like break into a house and you gotta kill one person and then leave. But it starts out like the house is empty and you go and you find some stuff and then it fills back and then it fills up with people. And
because like everybody shows up, like the person along with their whole entourage,
right? Yeah, and so all the guards are in the house and all this stuff. And so what I learned about that level is I always just like kind of just got a good shot on the person and then shot her and then would run away basically, and it was fine most of the time. But what you're supposed to do is sneak into her bedroom and hide in the closet.
That's always what I did.
I know. I didn't know that you could. I was like, oh, that's great. I didn't. Why? I never. I guess I just never thought to do it. So, and I was like, oh, this is how you're supposed to do this level. Now I get it.
Yeah.
So
because there's a part where I think that you can drug the wine and you can. I think I'm trying to remember how it works. I think the boyfriend ends up in the shitter.
Yes.
And it also separates, it kind of breaks up their plans.
If you have patience, they'll just go to sleep.
That too, yeah. But you can kind of accelerate it by messing with the wine.
There's a ton of like I always like how they list it all in like the challenges and stuff like that. It's like here's some stuff you can do. Like you can she gets tea as soon as she comes back in, and you can like sabotage that so that she'll do whatever. I think I've done that one before. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, like, and then one is like if you murder the guy in the shower with a knife because of, it's like Psycho or whatever. So that's, and like you can. One is to assassinate her while he's in the shower, which I never could quite pull off because he always seen it somehow, and I was like, damn it. But. Yeah, like I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do in this level. That's super cool. I love this game. It's great.
And I love that you can determine like how much of the game leads you to that stuff and how much of it's just like, okay, now I have an idea of that this is possible, right? And then I can just kind of leave it to my own devices to figure out how to make that happen.
Yep. It's really cool. Yeah. I mean, I was messing with stuff that I hadn't really messed with before, like the escalations stuff. I mean, I can't remember what they exactly call that. But I wanted a silenced sniper rifle just so I could try to do some sniping stuff. And so I wanted a silenced ones because if you don't have one of those, then immediately you make a shot and then people are trying to hunt you down. It's a pain in the ass. So to get the easiest one to get that I looked up was like, okay, if you do this like Marrakesh like escalation thing, you can get it. And I was like, all right. And that was actually kind of fun because you had to like sneak up under this roof. It was almost like a mini level of Hitman, where it was like it's kind of just this one little block where you have to sneak up on a roof and there's some guys there and you got to snipe 2 people across the level and then, you know, sneak out and do all this stuff. It was kind of neat. Like you had to do it 3 times and each time they would add different stuff to it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like the last one, you was like, hey, there's like 6 other dudes that you have to kill before you leave here. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. Sure. Why not? And you can't get caught or any. You have to do it basically silent assassin the entire time. So I was like, okay, suit only silent assassin. So it was entertaining. But I got that.
That is a good point though, because if there is one kind of weird thing about that series is that there's not actually a lot of the typical I'm going to have this like special sniper rifle in my briefcase that I. Everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was weird. Never mind. I think it's fine. Everything's fine. Everything seems to be recording. Nothing. All of a sudden, it was like the last USB device you connected to your computer is not being recognized. I'm like, what? But everything's fine. So, whatever.
All right.
I don't know what that was all about.
Okay. Richard Harden's on the job. It's
Yeah,
fine.
well, we'll hope so.
Yeah.
I'll keep my eye on it.
But no, like there's not a lot of instances of like, you know, you've already got like the weapon on you and you like you take it to like a location and then like assemble this like sniper rifle that's silenced that then you take the shot. Like there's very little of that in this series, and you kind of have to earn that stuff.
Yeah, you have to know where to go to find where to do a lot of it too. Like, I mean,
I love the more creative ones, and my favorite thing, like going all the way back to Blood Money, is the like making it look like an accident.
Yes,
like those are always the best.
Those are always the best.
But even so, it's like, yeah, but like sometimes you want to have that like classic movie Hitman vibe.
Oh yeah, absolutely, I agree. And I always try to do the sniper assassin stuff. It is fun. But like it's taxing. Like my favorite one is definitely I always forget the name of it. It's fucking second level in Hitman 1. The Italian.
I was gonna say it's got to be Sapienza.
Yeah, Sapienza is great. You can climb up the church and just like you can pretty much get everybody from there.
Yeah.
You can. There's a panel you can break on that guy's observatory. And he'll go check it out, and then you can snipe the top of the observatory, and it'll go all the way down and hit him in the eye, which is great. It's phenomenal. Yeah. I don't know why. So I was, like I said, I was kind of sick, and eventually I got to the point where I was like, man, I don't want to play video games right now. I'm not feeling super great, so I just want to watch something. And so I was like, I should watch like a speed run of this. I want to see, because I watched a speed run of it a while back. Like a long time ago, I think when like Hitman 3 like first came out or something, or maybe not even then, but it was a while back. And I was like, what's it like now? I wonder if my biggest thing was, I wonder if there's a speed run for like the whole trilogy, like just somebody running through all 3 of them. There super is. And I was like, okay, let me look at this. And I think it was like maybe a half an hour or something like that. And I was like, okay, let's see what's going on. So it gets to the first level, and the first level is Paris. It starts at Paris, and then you go through everything else. And I watched the Paris speed run, and I sat there and went, what in the fuck is even happening? I don't know what I even just watched. That was insane.
Important first question.
Yeah.
Was this a glitched run where they were doing all sorts of weird shit to like clip through stuff and whatnot?
Not it kind of, but not really.
Okay.
If that makes sense. There's only one thing that they do like that I would consider that. and it's weird. After watching just that first part, I think I watched like a couple more levels and I was like, I don't even know what the fuck is going on. Like,
Right.
this is insane.
That's why I like to watch most of my speedrun stuff with games done quick, because
Yes.
there's the person talking you through the whole thing.
And I found a YouTube channel that explained what they're doing in Hitman speedruns, which I'm going to shout out right now, which was Espectacor, who is a Hitman speedrunner. And they were like, they're a pleasant Canadian guy, and they were just going through like breaking it down like part by part. They were showing you like, they were like, here's like the world record run, here's what they're doing, and here's the tech behind all of this. And I was like,
Cool.
this is actually really fascinating. So like the Paris one, and these are silent assassin runs, and I guess the trick is you can go in with like anything you've unlocked or whatever. Like, it's not like,
Right.
you know, specific to that, but you can only have the suit on. You're not allowed to do any disguises or anything like that. And it has to be silent assassin. So silent assassin means they can't find the body, and or it has to look like an accident or whatever.
Right.
So certain things qualify for that. Like if a propane tank blows up around them, that's considered an accident. So they use propane tanks a lot in this.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I wasn't aware of that.
Oh yeah, yeah. So one thing that they did, and I can't remember exactly what they used to do it. They found out that normally when you drop like a mine or a bomb or something, it has a bounce to it. So it's never quite exactly where you want to put it. But they
Right.
figured out that if you time it to where in the walk animation where he's at his lowest, it won't bounce almost near as much. So you can precisely place things using the walk animation. So the other thing that they found out is that you can use, I think it's mines, or there's some sort of explosive you can use to launch things across the map. So what they do, I believe one of the big things in it is the timer doesn't start until the cutscene ends. So what they'll do is they'll let the cutscene play, because in the background of the cutscene, people are like moving. All the stuff in the
Right.
level is actually moving and getting into place. So they'll wait until it's in the perfect spot. They have like, as soon as you see this is when you press the button and then you go. And it's like, so they do this, they walk like 2 steps, set down like a bomb, set down another bomb, like I think a propane tank or something right next to it, hit the bomb, launch it all the way across the map. It will then blow up right where the lady is and kill her, like on the opposite end of the map. And somehow, and then I think they...
Yeah, because isn't she like looking out her, like the back balcony,
Yes.
like at that part?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So if you launch this fucking thing all the way across the map, like, and it has to be precisely placed to do this thing, like it's all calculated. It's wild.
That's like, did you ever see like this? It was like, I mean, this is like pre-YouTube days, but it was like the Halo physics test video. It was like this guy using like a warthog to like, he would like do things like make it like explode into the air and flip over. And,
Oh yeah. I think I do remember
and it was
that.
done to I think it's a Fatboy Slim song or something like that. But it was like back in the like, you know, Chocolate Rain days and Numa days, like super early, like viral video internet. But that's what that reminds me of. Is that type of shit, like just fun with physics, fun with game physics.
There was, and then there's like a lot of stuff where they almost like cheese like certain mechanics, like stuff that's made like really well. And the guy even points out, he's like, all this stuff, like it has to be dead perfect, or else like the AI will catch on to you immediately. But like you practice it enough, you get real good at it. Like, okay, if you bust a shot at a guy's knee right in front of him, he like basically what happens is that's called panic shots. So if you shoot a guard in like the hand or the knee, like someplace not lethal, they'll go, "What the fuck was that?" So what it does is it creates a cone around Agent 47 to where they go look for you. And if they don't find you there, so as long as you leave the cone before it happens, nothing finds you. So you're walking around shooting people, and they run towards you. They run right past you. And so there's a part where they were doing Hawks Bay or whatever. There's 3 guys. He shoots the guy in the knee, walks right in between them. Like, I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, because they all like get exclamation marks, and the AI just like freaks out. Basically, it's really great.
Oh man, and that's also what I love about that franchise, especially that trilogy.
Yeah,
is that so much of it is based around like these are little clockwork people, and it's this clockwork level, and go break it. Yeah, like they want you to go break it. Yeah, right?
Pretty much.
And I think that's also why, because we've also kind of expressed this. We expressed it earlier this year with like Star Wars Outlaws. That like I like my stealth to be a certain level of
dumb,
unbelievable. Because that's when it's fun for me. Right.
I agree.
I could definitely see a scenario where it's like, oh wow, like they've really improved like game AI to a point where like this. Yeah, I really feel like I'm playing like cat and mouse with these people. Right. That's awesome. But sometimes it's like, no, like I love it in Tenchu 1 on the PS1. The fact that like nobody looks up. Right. I love that.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Great. It's great.
Like
I agree.
So yeah, I think that's a lot of fun, and it doesn't detract from the game whatsoever.
Oh no, it's fun. The other thing you can do that I learned from speedrunning that I don't know if I'll ever use, but I'll always remember it is called triple shotting. So if you shoot something 3 times and somebody notices it, they'll all go into basically a panic state and go investigate that. And like this causes like large groups of enemies to just stop working. Like they'll all go investigate that because the mechanic behind it is if there's 3 shots that they hear, that's a firefight. Right. So they all run to it. And so you can just like shoot a camera like 3 times and they're all like, what the fuck was that? And they all go running toward it. And you can walk through just large groups of guards like nobody's there. They use like distraction shots where they'll place NPCs like it'll be like seconds on the thing, and they'll go, I have to make this shot at this spot at this time so that guard right there looks this way. It's fucking crazy. And then and the glitchiest thing that they do, the kind of the buggiest thing, and I think it got patched, but then I think they unpatched it. Because I think they maybe thought it was fun, and I kind of think it's fun.
That sounds like something that IO would do.
Right.
It's like, it's better this way. Like,
I know they patched one thing that got used in the speedrunning stuff, and I think it might have been like the ability to launch stuff with like mines and shit. I think that might have gotten patched, which is fine.
That seems like something that could actually break the game in a way where it's like, oh, everything just like crashes to the top.
It's entirely possible. But the one thing that they found, so okay, the technique, as far as I know, is called muffin skipping, which is great. It's you get the blueberry muffin from Whittleton Creek or whatever. And what you do is you throw it in front of something. And what happens is you can, in Hitman, when you throw something really close to it, it'll kind of explode. But the particles are still there. And you actually can walk on the particles. So what they do is they use it to go over top of things. And then because the level is not built to like be like, oh, the player can definitely get here. That's not a thing. There's no fall damage or anything like that. You just go over top of stuff. So you can just skip staircases and shit like that. Just no problem. Like Sapienza, you throw a muffin at this rail, walk over top of it. It drops you down to where the virus is. And then because you're not supposed to get here, there's like kind of an invisible floor along there, and you can just shoot the virus and then leave off the plane like in 20 seconds or whatever the fuck.
Wow.
It's nuts. Yeah. It's crazy. And again, that channel does a really good job of explaining like all of like the panic shooting and all this stuff that they're doing. And I was like, wow, this is really fun. I'm never going to do this, but it's fun to know that this is here, you know?
I'll have the link for that channel in the show notes if y'all want to check that out.
Yeah, it's fun.
That stuff, like that Hitman stuff, is a lot of because there's so many dumb things that you can do. Like, I think honestly, I credit a lot of Hitman's success to Giant Bomb because they were the ones like doing like Dan Reichert was just doing like the dumbest shit.
Oh yeah.
When Hitman 2016 was being released episodically that year.
Yep.
Because I think that game, like that first level hit and people were like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But then people started to fall off with subsequent releases, but then Giant Bomb was there constantly going back to it and doing dumb shit. And I think that really kind of got the ball rolling. But like, you know, you can definitely go down a rabbit hole. There was one night when I came across a video where it was the wine garden level from Hitman 3.
Yeah.
Where someone knocked out everybody in the level and put them on the wine press. And
Why
then
not?
like just killed them in one shot. And like the game just like grinds to a like because it's processing so much data at that point, and like it drops down to like 5 frames of animation, and you constantly see like non-target killed. Yeah. Like it's incredible.
Oh yeah. That game is so dumb, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's great. I think right now I'm almost to the end of Hitman 2, but like in the new like World of Assassination thing, they start putting like the DLC levels like in the middle of like where they're supposed to go canonically or whatever.
Sure.
So like they put one of them in there right before like the final level, and I was like, oh, I've never actually played through what's it called, Ambrose Island or whatever. I was like, oh yeah, I'll give that a shot. So I'm messing with that now. Which that
now
level,
is that an actual new like totally bespoke level, or is it more of just like a remix of an existing level?
No, it's a totally new map.
Okay.
Yes.
See, I wasn't aware that they had actually done anything like that with this trilogy. I thought that like all the DLC stuff was like, it's this level, but like we have it dressed up in a different way, and like the paths have been changed. Because that was the first thing that I saw.
There's 3 of them. There's 3 maps that they released as DLC. One was Ambrose Island. One is New York in a bank, which is pretty cool. It's hard. It's actually really hard. And the other one, I forget what it's called. It's but it's like a tropical resort island. Apparently that's the one speedrunners hate the most because some of the walls just don't work in it. Like so you can get like they can spot you just through them because it's a little buggy or something like that. I was like, oh, that sucks. I'll have to remember that when I go there. Hitman is a fun fucking video game that I every now and then just even now sometimes I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I could play some Hitman right now. Why not? It sounds good.
And IO is a lot like Larian in the sense that they just keep giving you more for your money. Because like they had said they were done, and then like, you know, the VR version of it is coming out this month, and like they're still adding like little things here and there to it.
There's a new elusive target. It's Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's supposed to be.
I hadn't even heard about that.
Yeah. I just heard about that like today or yesterday. This week. I was like, really? No shit. That sounds great. I might actually fuck with that when it comes out. So yeah, it's a hell of a video game, Hitman. I guess the only other game I played was Neva. I think it's Neva because that's how the girl pronounces it.
Oh, okay. Everybody that I've heard is like talk about it said Neva or Neva.
Yeah, it could go either way. You know, I'm open to either one.
You're by Neva.
Sure.
I tried something. It didn't.
It didn't really work, but you tried, and I respect it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Neva or whatever the hell it is, Neva. I'm just gonna go with Neva because that's the way I'm gonna remember it.
You're never gonna talk about it again for sure.
Probably not, but you never know.
Yeah.
So I will start with the things I like about the game. I think that game is gorgeous. That game is very, very pretty. It is like playing a painting. It is really cool. There are spots in it that I was like, wow, that looks really good. I have to give it up to him. That looks awesome. The gameplay is pretty much fine. I should have known that maybe it wasn't for me, and spoilers. That when I was looking at it, I was like, what is this kind of game is this? And it was like puzzle platformer. I was like, oh shit, whoops. Maybe I shouldn't have put myself in there. But that being said, like for it being one of those, it's actually not like super annoying or hard or anything. It's really there to just like kind of take you through like its visual stuff and
sure
from one point to the other. Like the combat's kind of it's fine. It's nothing you're gonna like go nuts over, but it's totally serviceable. None of the encounters are like nuts. I think there's like a few that like I had to play through like, 3 or 4 times because I'm awful at video games, but if you're better at them, you're not going to have that problem. Is that all I liked about? Oh no. And basically, so the game revolves around Neva. Neva is a dog. They're a big dog. They're a cute dog. You have to train the dog throughout it. Not really, but kind of like it's kind of like part of the story, I guess. You can pet the dog whenever you want. Dog will come and help you. You can send dog after things at some point. It's pretty neat. All the dog stuff was pretty good. Other than that, I kind of fucking hated this game. It's one of those games where I'm like, I can acknowledge this is a good game. It's just, I feel like I have found my genre that is like Julian's Nier Automata, where it's like, where you present it to me and you go, look at this art. Look at this fucking art. We're going to make you feel things through this art. And I'm just like, go fuck yourself. I hate this. I
don't even know if that's the thing for me with Nier Automata. I think
No. I'm not saying that's not it. That's that.
Oh.
I'm saying like my level of like I can understand why people like this, I guess, but I don't fucking get it.
Well, no, so specifically my thing with Nier Automata is I don't understand why people get like I do not understand why people love that game.
I guess that's kind of it here too, where I'm playing this. I'm like, I don't get what anybody sees in this, because I'm like looking at stuff that's like, is this the most emotional ending ever? And I got to the ending, I was like, I guess, okay, fucking whatever. Like, I actually was like kind of annoyed by the ending and thought it kind of sucked, but everybody else was like, oh, it's very sad. It wasn't as good as Grease or whatever. Apparently, that's people's big complaint. But like, God, it's just like nothing fucking happens in it. It's just like, look at this art and look, what does it mean? And I'm like, I don't fucking care what it means. I just don't.
Yeah. I might have to edit this out, but because this might be too spoilery, but is it because it's pulling on like pet heartstrings that aren't really landing for you?
No, it's just because it doesn't fucking have anything to say. It's a bunch of like symbolism for shit.
Okay.
It's annoying. Like, I'm like, okay, I get it. I think this is a global warming thing. Is that what you're going for? I don't fucking care. I just all the enemies are oily because oil is bad. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I get it.
Yeah.
I don't.
A little too on the nose.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just constantly like, maybe I get it, or maybe I'm totally missing the point, but I just fucking don't like it. I think it does have like a pet dying theme, like that might be a thing in there. It also might have a theme of like, oh, the seasons. And I was like, God, this is stupid. This is like, yeah, it is like somebody's like highbrow art project that they're just like, oh, this is like one thing like with me that I've never understood, when people like look at a painting and then like analyze it, like, oh, the artist was probably feeling this, and it's a symbolism for this. And I'm always just like, I don't know. It's just like a guy looking at a camera and having his hands on his cheeks. I don't really fucking care. Sure.
Yeah. I can kind of go in. It depends on the art, and it depends on where I'm at. Like,
you seem like much more of an artsy guy.
Again, I think it's very situational, because there are times where I'm like, oh, I kind of see what they're going for here. But then other times I'm just like, yeah, like, it looks good. Or with a lot of like, contemporary arts, like, yeah, it kind of looks like shit. Like it's got like a bunch of like weird shapes on a canvas.
I will say, I would say this, that to the game's credit, like looks wise, like We kind of
It's very pretty.
Yeah, we kind of recorded our game of the year thing with best looking game, and I would have probably nominated this because it does look really good. There are spots where
next year we're definitely going to record all of the episodes a lot closer to the final list.
Yeah, I was like, I was looking at the release date of this. I was like, I don't even know if this was actually out or if it was out. It just came out when we recorded.
It's relatively, it definitely came out after like that first week that we recorded, and also like there are characters in Double Exposure that I would have fought for, in best new characters. So
live and learn.
I think that's good, right? Like, historically, Giant Bomb has done like their whole like recording like around like the week before Thanksgiving or something like that, and then it comes out during Christmas week.
Right.
We don't have that luxury to be able to just do it all in one shot, especially because like, we want to have guests for all of those episodes, and so we need to book those. But I definitely want to try to book those like maybe even just like 3 weeks in a row, or
that might be the way to do it. Rip it off like a band-aid. But
we know that we're in Game of the Year like mode, right? And I agree. I think that's probably the way to go.
Probably, because
but it's our first stab at this.
Oh yeah, for sure. We're learning as we go. But I was like, I probably would have nominated this. I don't know if how high it would have got for me, but I would have probably not, because I like looks wise there's a spot in there, and like not to like ruin anything, there's a spot, and I thought this was really clever, to the game's credit, where like they do like a reflection thing. And like I remember getting to it, I was like, that's really pretty. Like that is really nice. And then they even do stuff where they play with the reflections and shit like that. I was like, that's really good. That looks really good. I'm not gonna lie. Like that, there were moments of that game, like for as much as I didn't like it, that I was like, no, hats off to you. That's pretty good. I have to say, that's really clever. So yeah, I feel like if you're out there and you're listening to this, ignore me. This is like just one of those genres of video games where I'm just like, okay, this is not my thing. It's super isn't, but if you like an art, maybe it's
if you like an art,
if you like one art. I hate art. I hate it.
I like an Art Adams. He's a really good comic book artist.
Okay.
I like the way he draws that there Wolverine.
Okay. Good for that art.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like an okay art. But Neva, it's
like an Art Garfunkel.
Yeah. It's a perfectly fine game. It's just like everything that it's trying to do that would put it like the next level for a lot of people. And like I looked at reviews and was like, yeah, IGN gave it a 10 out of 10 and all this shit. And I'm like, oh boy, I sure as shit don't see the same things these people do in this shit.
Yeah. There's been a lot of that for me this year where, I've seen like a lot of hyperbole for a lot of games where I'm like, and I think that's the thing that I keep getting on about is like, a game can just be enjoyable. Like, it doesn't have to be like the greatest thing that you've ever played in your life. No. And like, there's so much of that like every year. Like, I just saw a title of a YouTube video yesterday that was like, metaphor changes everything. And it's like, I
don't know if it really does, but yeah.
This is gonna be a new like
the hyperbole clickbait thing is definitely a big.
I mean, for sure, but I also hear people talking about that game like on podcast. Well, not necessarily on podcast, but I hear people online talking about that game in those like ways of
interesting.
Like, this is by far the best party that they've ever come up with, and this is the most impactful story that I've played in an RPG and ever. And it's like, okay, like give it a year,
good. Give it a year or two, and people will be like, actually, it wasn't that good, or something like that.
We'll see. Sometimes people tend to get like more and more ingrained.
It always seems to go in cycles for me. Yeah, it could be more ingrained, but then there will also be the dissenters that'll be like, no, actually, this one was better, and here's why, because you got to get the clicks, and then it'll go. It kind of spirals from there. It's a whole thing. I hate the internet sometimes. But yeah, Neva, it's perfectly fine if you're into that sort of thing. You should play it.
Yeah,
it's.
I would say go check out a trailer, and then you'll probably know if it's.
You'll know, yeah. It's meant to be very emotional, and there were times where I was like, okay, I can see this being a thing right now. given the themes of it, I thought it would hit me a lot harder than what it did, and I was just kind of like, yeah. And then the end kind of like pissed me off somehow. I don't know why. I don't know if it was a culmination of things, and I couldn't get into it without spoiling the entire thing, of course.
Sure.
But like, I don't know if it was like a culmination of things, or if I got to the end of it. Basically, my biggest thing was like, what the fuck was the point of any of that then? And I'll leave it there.
A good feeling.
It's not a good feeling, but I probably missed the symbolism, Julian. That's which made me even more mad. I was just like,
yeah,
okay.
No, I get that for sure.
Yeah.
I've definitely felt that a lot recently.
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind if we took a quick break? Because I could use a quick break.
Yeah, we can do that. No problem.
All right.
I'm gonna go have a cigarette then.
Nice.
All right. All right.
And we're back.
Yep. Neva, it's French as fuck.
You thought that while you were having a
I
cigarette,
forgot to I forgot to say it. I was like, oh right, I remember I was going to say that. What else? Oh, I bought 2 other games that I intended to play, but I think I'm just going to play them for next week. That I bought that one game when we were reading Game of the Year stuff. It was called Closer the Distance or something like that. I bought that.
Okay.
And it looks interesting. It's actually like a Sims like, believe it or not. And I was like, oh, with it's Sims but a story. And I was like, okay, all right.
Okay.
It might be
Someone
pretty,
should try that.
Yeah, that seems like it might be pretty okay. And then I bought Fields of Mystria, which is a game I've been curious about for a while. Which is like a Stardew Valley kind of game, but very inspired by Sailor Moon. And I was like, just the artwork alone.
Wait, I think I have seen that game, and it actually did look kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, it's basically Stardew Valley, but like you look at the art and you're like, that's a Sailor Moon character. Like you're just like instantly. And I was like, okay, I kind of want to see what that's about. So that might be fun. It's still in early access.
I was not aware that Infinity Nikki is a free to play, like they're going for like a Genshin Impact market. Like, okay. I thought it was a game that you paid money to play. And so I was not aware of that. So when I saw that it was like free, I downloaded that yesterday. I was like, oh, okay. Like, because I was curious about it. And then I watched the review where I was like, oh, I think I might be less curious about it now. But then when I saw it was free, I was like, well, okay. Like, there's
why
no
not?
barrier to entry.
Sometimes the free thing is like, I'll give this a shot. That's what I did last week with that dating game. I was like, oh well, if I had to pay money for this, I would have been like, I'm not even gonna bother. But it being free, I was like, yeah, why not? Fuck it, I'll play it for an hour or something.
Yeah. So I finished, obviously Life is Strange, and I also finished 1,000 Times Resist. Yeah. But I am going to leave that for the last thing that I talk about, simply because I can't really get into my thoughts about it without spoiling stuff. And so we're kind of going to do, it's not going to be like a spoiler cast like the Rebirth thing, but I am just going to leave it for the last thing that we talk about, so that if you're interested in playing the game whatsoever, just you can bounce out early and then come back when you've played it. And that way I don't have to worry about tiptoeing around anything. I can just talk about my feelings about the game and we'll be fine. But after I finished that, I was in a weird spot, because I was like, I've got time now. I don't know what I should play next. And then like there had been like enough talk about it, and I was like, fuck it. Like, and so I bought Dragon Age the Veilguard.
Oh yeah.
I started Dragon Age the Veilguard. And Justin has said many times on this podcast that Dragon Age the Veilguard is decisively fine.
Yes.
I respectfully disagree.
Okay.
I think it is the okayest game of 2024.
Yeah.
I don't know that I want to. No, I don't know that I want to go as far as saying it's fine. I think it's okay.
That's fair.
And to be fair, I am very early. I am earlier than the first time that Justin talked about the game. You were about 10 hours or more into it.
Yeah.
I'm about 5. So this could change. Like,
Trying to
as I
think
get
of
deeper
where
into
you're
the
at
game.
then.
So I can tell you exactly where I'm
Okay.
at. I am at a point where I had the decision to go recruit this character or go to this town to do this other quest, and I chose to go back to Tevinter.
Okay, got you.
Because I was like, yo, it's Tevinter. Like, I have heard whispers of Tevinter since the first book.
Yeah.
So of course I want to spend more time in Tevinter.
Right.
Like, I don't know if you get to go there in Inquisition, but
Is that Docktown? I can't
Yes.
remember. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah.
yeah, the Tevinter Imperium, because that's
Right.
That's like where like a lot of the magical part of Dragon Age
Yes.
like has its origins.
Yeah, you don't-
It has its Dragon Age origins
you don't-
in Tevinter.
You don't go there in Inquisition, but you get the guy who's like a higher up. Dorian or whatever is like a higher up in there or something like
Okay.
that. Yeah, so you
I
hear.
thought
I
I
recognized
recognized the name because there was actually like a document that I found that was written by him.
Yeah, he may or may not show up. Who knows?
That's cool.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Like I would hope that more characters from previous games would show up. I don't know. Like I haven't heard, but like I have definitely expressed, kind of displeasure that like the only character from 2 to keep reappearing is Varric. Not that I don't love Varric. It's just I also happen to. Well, no, I guess Cassandra was there, but she wasn't really a character. She wasn't part of the party in 2.
Yeah.
But like I happen to really love Meryl and Fenris, and would like to see them more often.
Yeah.
But let's see. I'm trying to collect my thoughts.
I wasn't super high on it at the point you were at right now either. Like
Yeah.
I was kind of like, yeah, all right, it's something.
I
to
will
play.
say that like I have not played it for longer than an hour. Like I'm 5 hours into
That's-
it, and I've played
yeah.
most of that in like half-hour chunks. Because it starts to kind of put me to sleep. Oh, I actually have a very important
Makes sense.
question.
Yeah, sure.
A very important question. Does the combat ever get more interesting? Because I saw it's like, oh, so everybody's only going to have a maximum of 3 abilities that they can use
Yeah.
in any loadout. So does it ever get interesting?
It's a little one note.
That's what I was afraid of. It feels so much like the Final Fantasy 16 of this franchise.
Yeah, kind of. I could see. Yeah, actually, yeah.
Like the bones of the combat are very fun.
Uh-huh.
Like I think it moves really well. I think a lot of the systems work together really well. I like that it feels like Mass Effect, like old school Mass Effect, in the sense that like when you bring up your ability wheel, it pauses the game,
Right.
and you can move your reticle around and have different party members target different enemies with abilities. But then it kind of stops there.
There's just not enough for people to do. Yeah.
There's not enough. And I was thinking about this actually, but so people are going to think that this is a favorable, because to me, this is the Mass Effect 2, like this is more the Mass Effect 2 of the Dragon Age series than even Dragon Age 2 was.
Okay.
And now people are going to assume, if they don't know me, that is high praise from me. It is not. It is dim praise.
I don't even think it's like that, to be honest.
I mean from a mechanics perspective.
Oh, okay.
In the sense that like there's so much stripped away
Yeah, I
from
could see that.
what the series has previously had.
Inquisition didn't, to be fair, Inquisition didn't have all that much going on to my memory either, though. I'm trying to think.
It had like a full tactical mode. Which,
It did, yeah.
which I didn't use.
It did.
But
Me
also,
neither.
to be fair, I didn't use tactical mode in Dragon Age Origins, oddly enough.
Right. Yeah.
I played that fully in real time, which is kind of weird.
It's kind of a weird way to do it, but yeah, God bless.
Especially for me.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think the difference is that I didn't have any of that Baldur's Gate experience.
Right, yeah.
I think I did pause it just to issue orders like I did in Mass Effect 1. So I played it more like Mass Effect 1 than I did like a full-on like Baldur's Gate thing, which is how they kind of intended that mode to be used. So this game has the exact same thing that Mass Effect 2 and 3 did, which is right away, like you start to have like, oh, these enemies have shields and certain abilities take down those shields. These enemies have armor and certain abilities take down armor. It's like, okay. And I realized that I actually love that idea.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason that I didn't like it in Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3 and also here is because you have A, so few abilities at your disposal, and B, those abilities are on a universal cooldown.
Yeah.
You can't really like take those enemies out in like a really cool strategic way.
Right.
Like, I think it'd be really cool if it's like, okay, I'm expecting a lot of magic enemies in this next segment, so I'm going to bring characters that have a lot of abilities that are good for taking down magic barriers and dealing with that.
Yeah.
But really, it's like, I'm sure every character has like their magic barrier ability and their armor taking down ability. And,
I'll be honest with you, I don't even remember if they do.
but no matter what, like, it's not even, it's like, okay, so like, because I actually timed it. So I will say, and maybe this is on my fault, but I was looking through the descriptions of the difficulty levels. And I actually went one level down because the way that it was written, it sounded like it was more geared around issuing orders to your party members and playing it that way. And I was like, that's how I like to play this stuff.
Okay.
So that's what I'm doing. So it is a little slightly lower difficulty.
Oh, I played it. I played it on the
normal.
slightly lower difficulty myself. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got into a battle, and immediately when I started that battle, I had both of my party members do an ability. And then they were on cooldown for the remainder of that battle. So they got to do one thing.
Yeah.
And then it was just hack and slash for the rest of it. And I'm playing a warrior. Justin, I know you started as a mage, and then you also messed around with
I messed
rogue.
with rogue. Yeah, I did not mess with warrior. So yeah, you have to.
So I have a question. So warrior generates rage that builds up during the course of a battle, and I can't use my abilities until I have enough rage. Is that how the other characters work?
Yeah.
That is fucking bullshit,
yeah,
dude.
one of them has mana, one of them has some, I can't remember what the other one is. I think it's momentum or something like that, but it's kind of the same deal. Yeah.
So I'm at a point where I have two abilities right now, and in most battles I never get to use them because I don't build, like, the enemies are dead before I've built up enough rage to use them. Or by the time that I have enough to use it, like, there's no point because the enemies are dead anyway. Yeah. So and it just yeah, like that is a big bummer for me because again, I think that like the framework is there for like a really cool,
I agree,
fun battle system. I didn't mind the hack and slash pivot that Dragon Age 2 did, but I think this is a better version of that.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's more fun to play overall. The parries feel good.
Yeah, I just played it like pretending that none of my other party members exist until they do, I guess.
I mean, the game kind of actively makes you feel that way.
I know, I know, it really does.
Just walking around, like so at the part that I was playing after work today, I was walking around Docktown, and I was like, I had Nev because she's required, and then Harding in my party.
Yeah,
and I was like, and Harding said something, and I was like, oh fuck, Harding. Because like she trails behind so far that you never see her when you're walking around, and it's very off-putting when like all of a sudden she pipes up and it's like, oh shit, you were here the whole time, huh? I
never had that with them. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and then also just like I had mentioned, just from what I had seen from coverage, it's like like during fights, like you're not managing like their health or anything like that. They're literally just there as additional abilities.
There's a part of me that likes that, but there's a part of me that totally understands why somebody wouldn't like that.
Yeah, I like managing a party.
Yeah, I know it's very anti-RPG for the most part in that sense. I think for me it was playing it at like the perfect time because it was a great game to turn my brain off and just fucking do whatever to.
Sure,
because I did not have to. You don't have to think about it very much.
You really don't.
You really don't. No, it's not phenomenal at all. I got more into that one once I had the full party and stuff started to come together a little bit more, like storyline wise. Mm-hmm. But like for a lot of the game, I was just like, I guess I'll play it. There's nothing else to do right now.
That's kind of what I'm feeling. And I will say that like. Part of the reason that I haven't put more time into it this week is that a big update dropped on a struggle with Sin like they added like a new party member.
Oh,
like a
okay.
Full on new, like a fourth party member.
All right.
And a new dungeon. I was like, that's kind of massive. And like, I've been messing with that more often.
That's the Patreon one, right?
That's the Patreon one.
I remember we were talking about this on something else that people haven't heard yet. And I remember I looked it up immediately after that. You do have to pay money to download that game.
Really?
Yes.
Even the first one? Okay.
I looked into it and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I can't. Yeah. I'm not really going to spring for this right now. But yeah.
Yeah. I would say like I would still recommend just like drop like the lowest amount and grab it because again, I've put 78 out.
Oh yeah, no, it seems cool.
So just this week, I went for like when I loaded my save, I was at 70 hours, and now I'm at 78. That's where like a lot of the time played this week went. I was like, again, not intending to. Like it just happened, and I was like, oh fuck, because it's just that type of game.
Yeah. No, I mean that sounds way more entertaining than Veilguard does. Like I said,
in some aspects it is.
Veilguard in the back half gets a little bit better. Like I at least like started to get into some of the characters in the story and stuff like that. And overall, like the ending brought me around where I was like, okay, yeah, no, that was pretty all right.
Yeah.
But like where you're at right now, I remember being like, yeah, I'm not really super impressed with this game, but there's nothing better to play, so. Yeah.
There's aspects that I really like. I think it's gorgeous.
It's very pretty. Yeah.
I liked the character creator. I actually ended up going with a human male, simply because I wanted to kind of make an approximation of my original Commander Shepard.
Okay.
I couldn't quite get all the way there, but it's close enough. He's kind of like a more Hispanic looking guy with a high and tight haircut with a scar on his face, and he's got like these really bright green eyes, because when I made my first Shepherd, I was really leaning into the backstory and the lore of like that everybody kind of looks like an amalgamation of races, because that it just happened over time. And I will say I don't have issues with the actual like art style of the game the way that I thought I would. I think it actually looks really good.
In motion, it's not bad, yeah.
Even just I guess like in conversations and stuff as well. I'm not a fan of the designs though. Right now I've got Nev, I've got Ballara, and I've got Harding.
Yeah.
Harding, I mean, she's fine.
She's fine.
She's a dwarf rogue. She looks like a dwarf rogue.
She was in Inquisition. Yeah.
Yeah. Nev has and I think a lot of it is it's more costuming than anything else. Nev has the dumbest hat.
I was just gonna say, is this a Nev's hat issue? Because you're not alone. You're not alone.
No, and it's funny because like in Final Fantasy 14, every time that they release an expansion, like one of the big things is, what is the artifact armor going to look like for each of the job classes this game? And no matter what, Scholar is always going to get the short end of the stick, because no matter what they do, they can't that class is always going to look like a dumb valedictorian nerd crossing the getting their diploma in college, and that's what Nev looks like to me. But beyond that,
yeah,
she and Ballara have the exact same coloring going on.
Kind of, yeah. Like
they're both wearing white tops with turquoise accents, and it's like. Yep. You never saw those two characters next to each other, guys, and thought maybe we should shake this up a bit?
No. Why would we?
And also, I have no idea what Ballara is supposed to be. She's some sort of tinkerer, but she's using magic or something, and it doesn't really look like anything I've ever seen in that franchise to date.
I'm not sure if she's almost like a magic mechanic kind of person.
Yeah.
I think that's the veil jumper thing, which I think they're a newer faction. I don't know.
I haven't heard of them before.
Yeah, I don't think I have. I think they're kind of newer, and their whole thing is they go into elven ruins that are old elven ruins and try to get stuff to work again to see if they can do it or whatever, and that's kind of just their thing. I remember Ballara being the one when I first started playing it, to being I don't like this character very much, but they grew on me over time.
So I had just edited that episode where you said that, and I'm like, okay, I'll give her some time.
She takes a little bit. Yeah,
I think my thing, and it's not even so much that it's MCU dialogue in sneer quotes, as much as it is, I have a real problem, and this is very much a me thing. I have a real problem with fantasy or sci-fi settings where the dialogue ends up feeling like current slang. And there's a lot of dialogue in Veilguard that feels like it's just someone walking down the street downtown, just talking, and it's it takes me out of the world. And it's a good example. Transformers 1 came out this year, which I loved, right? But there's a lot of stuff that they say in that movie that I have fundamental issues with.
Right.
Especially because, like, I've read a lot of comic books that address this, where it's like, there's parts where Orion Pax will say, like, hey, guys, can we talk this out? And it's like, you shouldn't have said, hey, guys. You should have said, hey, bots, right? Like, because there's, like, that's not a thing on your planet. Just little things like that, or like certain turns of phrases where it's like, in the later like iterations of Transformers, like you only hear the Transformers using certain idioms and stuff like that because they've been on Earth and been around humans. But like back in like flashbacks and stuff like that, they kind of have their own, they'll kind of twist certain things. It's like you recognize what it is, but it's adjusted for the lore and stuff like that. And I know that it's a very nitpicky thing.
It is,
but
a
it's
little
a
bit
thing that takes me out of fantasy and sci-fi settings.
It's funny because I'm hearing that and I'm like, I don't know how long I could put up with that. Actually, some of that actually sounds like it would drive me nuts.
It's to certain people's taste, right?
Yeah.
So like I know like some people have issues with the word frack in Battlestar. Fucking love the word frack. I fracking love the word frack. It's one of my fracking favorite things.
An oil thing.
No, it's FRAK. Like that's like their big cuss word. And like back in like old Transformers Beast Wars, right? Like it was like, oh, that's some hot slag.
Okay, yeah,
that type of stuff, right?
I remember that one. Yeah.
Just I like it when people take the extra time to make lore specific lingo and slang and stuff like that. Even if sometimes it's very much like, oh, you just like substituted these words for these other words to make the exact same idiom or whatever.
Fantasy stuff seems always like it's like maybe the hardest to write for, because
for sure, and it can be bad, right?
Especially dialogue, because you fall into almost
that's so
two camps.
Wizard.
Well, yeah, right. Like you run the risk of all your slang sounding like completely ridiculous. And my best example of that is like Final Fantasy 13. When they're just like fal'C and l'C and all this other shit. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and I don't fucking care.
That's not slang as much as it is just the fundamental like story elements. And I agree with you. I think that like, and I've always gone back and I thought, if this game hadn't been voiced, I bet I would have been way better with all that shit, right?
Exactly. There's a fine line to walk. And then you can also go the other problem of like, everybody's medieval Britain or whatever the fuck, and we just
the
talk
Final Fantasy
like
16 thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a fine line to walk in that stuff, and it's really tough to get it right.
Yeah. But I do feel that like so far a lot of those characters that I've talked to have not felt like they belong in Dragon Age.
No, I'm right there with you. No, they're out of place a lot of the time.
I had the perfect description for it when I was playing it today, which is, it's like the Saturday morning cartoon version of Dragon Age.
Yes, it is.
That is exactly what it is.
Yep.
You and I grew up in an era where they would adapt
100%
properties that had no business being turned into cartoons into cartoons.
100%. Yep.
And that's what this is. Because Dragon Age was always so dirty and gritty and dark and bloody.
I remember like trying to like explain exactly what you just said, sort of like when I first started talking about it, because I remember being like, well, they'll introduce stuff that's like key to Dragon Age, like the Blight shows up, and everybody's just like, there's something. It feels like exactly like it's like they introduced it in the Saturday morning cartoon, and they kind of like tone it down a little bit, even though this is supposed to be like weird Blight. I don't know how to explain it.
It is supposed. So I did understand, like as I got deeper, that it is supposed to be a different version of the Blight.
Yes,
but it doesn't stop it from. And I actually think that actually all of the like enemies that I've encountered so far, I've really disliked their designs.
Yeah, they're a little
just top to bottom.
They're a little like it's either, and even then, like I don't know how to put it. They're not they're kind of boring design wise. The enemies. And they never really vary very much. Like there's
don't.
No variance.
And then the stuff that has been in previous games, like the the Blight zombies and like the ogres, again feel very Saturday morning cartoonified.
Yeah.
Like
it's
like okay, like I can totally see if they had turned this into an animated series in 1992. this is exactly how this would have looked.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. 100%. Right there with you. That's totally right. Yeah. No.
And then again, going back to like the costuming thing, like I think like a lot of it is just really bad. Like I was really stoked when Morgan showed up. I didn't realize she was going to show up so early, but I was kind of looking at her outfit and I was like,
oh,
it looks like you're covering 4 boobs.
I hate
and
Morgan's
I can't unsee
design.
it. Yeah, and she's got these weird like feather like shoulder pads.
Oh,
that
it's not even that for me. It's the thing on her head and
the thing on her head
hair.
is bad too.
I hate.
Yeah.
I'm just like they changed her haircut, and I'm like, but it's kind of her.
I thought
haircut.
the haircut was all right.
I hated it. I hate it.
I don't. But yeah, I don't know.
I like the old bun. What do you want from me?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
I feel like her in particular, like I would kind of expect her to change her look like a lot.
a little bit. And I keep thinking the thing she has on her head has some sort of significance too, because she's got a whole thing going on.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
It definitely, because it seems like it would denote some sort of like prestige or rank or something like that. It's definitely not something that she's ever worn before, unless.
Yeah, I don't think they ever address it though. I don't.
I
think
never
they
found
ever do.
her in. She does show up in Inquisition as well, right?
At the very end. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I never got that far.
Yeah.
I like that she's been one of the big recurring characters though, because she was my favorite in the first game. So,
Yeah, she's cool.
yeah. And then you had talked about like lore stuff that it might rub me the wrong way. I think the only thing so far that I've been having issues with, and I've been like, well, it's fantasy, is like when they show your base and it's like, we're in the Fade, and I'm like, that's not this shouldn't be here. Like we shouldn't. What? But they are kind of explaining that it's like a special part of the Fade has been kind of like stabilized, and it's like,
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that actually is, I guess, pretty interesting, and I've liked so I had my first like conversation with Solus, and so that I am finding very interesting, like this concept of like, really where what is this character, like what is his goal, like, what is the perception of him and stuff like that. Do
you trust this guy? He's giving you.
I think that stuff is very neat.
Solus is fascinating. I love that character. I think that kind of propelled me towards the ending, because I was like, I really want to find out what's going on with what's going to happen with him, and was not disappointed. So yeah,
but I do plan on continuing with it.
Yeah,
I
won't be surprised if you bounced off or offended or anything. I'd be like, oh yeah, no, I get it, man. It's something. It was kind of
because I did eventually bounce off of Inquisition.
Yeah,
but I would like to see this one through.
Yeah, it depends.
I mean, yeah, we'll see. I think it's going to come down a lot to characters.
It's gonna because I it's funny. I'm trying to think of like the characters that I really liked in it. And
everything that you talked about, Tosh, sounds very cool.
Tosh
to me, and I'm looking forward to meeting them.
Was my favorite. I also really liked Emmerich, who you haven't met yet.
And what I've heard of him sounds very fun.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to meeting him.
He's fun. Him and old
Manfred.
Manfred. Oh man, Manfred's great. Yeah, I remember another thing we already recorded, but I was like, man, I should have nominated Manfred. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. Should have done it, but I didn't know. But yeah, he was good. There's some good ones, but like, yeah, it's and some of the ones that I didn't like I remember not really being into Harding for a while. And then sort of as her arc happens, I'm like, okay, I actually kind of like you more. And
one of the things that I really like, just a small detail wise, that I thought was very cool is, so I ended up getting Harding hurt at the beginning of the game.
Yes.
And I love the fact that like she was like, her face was like really fucked up, like after like that first part, and like the bruises are slowly fading like as the course of the game, and I'm like, that's a really neat touch.
And they always have a permanent scar. I didn't do that with Harding. I did it with Nev. So cool. Nev had was basically bruised throughout the whole thing, but when it finally did go away, she permanently had like a scar over the side of her face, and I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. I love anything in a game that kind of shows like the passage of time,
right?
And also like I've always loved in like both like the Arkham series and then also that first 2016 Tomb Raider game the character getting more and more like fucked up over the course of the adventure.
Yeah.
Right. Like I really love that stuff. I will say that like it feels to me like a studio's first game.
Yeah, it does.
But a very impressive first outing.
That's kind of how I feel. I try to, the entire time I was playing, I was like, I know this is like it's BioWare, right? But it's not. It's super.
It's not our BioWare.
It's not.
Yeah.
That's dead. That's gone.
Throw it out the window. For ages. They were probably gone before. Inquisition came out, honestly.
Oh yeah.
So
or maybe right around that time, a lot of it. Yeah, but they're gone. It's not the same people anymore. And like I almost am treating this one like it's like no, this is their first game. This is the new BioWare. Let's see what they got. Yeah. And when you put it in that context, it's like, this has some promise to it. Like they got some ideas for stuff, and like it's interesting.
But along those lines, there's also things where it's like, it feels like there's parts where they didn't really know what to do here. And they're like, well, we gotta come up with like a thing for you to do here. And, a lot of it is like, well, yeah, like there was this perfect microcosm. And it ended up being like kind of an optional thing that I didn't realize that it was optional. But it was like a confluence of everything that I hate about video games, like in rapid fire form. Yeah. Where it was like, all right, so there's these two contraptions. I can see that I need to like, turn the beams to like, hit these other contraptions to open this path. And I'm like, okay, so let me go do this first one. And then I did it. And then Rook is like, one down. There's got to be another one left. And it's like, yeah, I can see it with my eyes, Rook. I don't need you to tell me that. It's fine. And then I had to open up a path to this next spot, which then immediately had the shimmy through the tight crevasse thing. Yeah. And I was like, oh God, okay, here we go. And then, did the thing. And it was just like one after another. And but then that ended up being just to get like a treasure chest. And I was like, oh, I could have just skipped that. Yeah. So I was then less annoyed by it because I did that to myself. Yeah. But a lot of it is just like, well, I guess go destroy these blight pustules before you can go forward. And, if there's more than one, they'll definitely let you know that you need to do more. And
maybe do them in the right order eventually. Because,
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I know. It's a video game. Trust me. It's a video game. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. Trust me, there's spots where I would get this shit. I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. But whatever, I'm here, I'm doing it. Like I said, I turned my brain off so much during that because it was like right time, right place for me to be like, yeah, I can put up with this right now. Why not? Fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll see, because I'm not as big a lore hound in Dragon Age as I am in Mass Effect. Like definitely the next Mass Effect game, I'm going to be much harsher on like lore infractions, for lack of a better term.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, oh man, we're into Vinter. Like I definitely want to like see more of this shit, right?
Yeah.
Like I am, one of the things that I'm really upset that I didn't get to see in Inquisition was, I know that you go to, oh shit, I'm forgetting the name of it. The French country.
Oh, I can't remember what that place is called.
I think it starts with an L.
Yeah, it does. Oh, man.
Because, it had been mentioned in the books, and then it was mentioned a lot in the first two games. There were characters from there, and I didn't ever get to see that.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Man, it's on the tip of my tongue. I'm so close, but I'm not gonna find it.
No, me neither.
Not Luray.
You're real close.
Yeah. Fuck. Casey's yelling right now.
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh geez. I can't press the right buttons anymore. Oh, it's real bad. It's going really bad. Is it a city?
Yeah, or it's either a city or a country.
Is it Orlais?
Orlais.
That's
it.
I didn't even look that up. I just, for whatever reason, went, wait a second. It's Orlais. That's it. That's the one.
It's where Liliandra's from.
Yes.
Or Liliandra. But yeah, so I was bummed out that I, didn't actually see that in Inquisition. And so being in like the Deventer Imperium in this one is like extremely exciting for me. So I definitely want to like delve more into that stuff.
I'm not sure you'll come away fully satisfied on that stuff because like I don't know how much they really go into it being like, oh, this is what it's like in Deventer. So it might be kind of just like, yeah, that's where you are, but who cares?
Yeah. Well, because you definitely get like a bit of it in the intro of the game where, it's very much like a police state with magic, right? Where you do then, yes. Yeah. And then they kind of shy away from it after that. It kind of becomes more like Docktown feels like a really traditional RPG town. That's what I mean. Yeah, it's just kind of its whole thing really is like, oh, Docktown has secrets and stuff because they made it around Nev, like the character. So so because she's a detective or whatever, that's kind of what they based it on. Like they were just like, it's going to be like a noir city or whatever, and it's like it's fine, but they never do. It's funny. I expected to really like get into Nev once I got into her character stuff, and I never really did because I feel like I gotta say, her design when she's just hanging out at the watchtower or whatever they call it, the lighthouse. That's great. I wish that was how she looked like all the time. Yeah, you can eventually listen. You can get a costume later, Julian, or not even too far later that will take off the hat, so it's not that bad. That's another thing that I've noticed very early on is that like it seems that they're more interested in cosmetics than actual gear. Yeah, and with this game, but not for like the party members. It's mostly just for you. Yeah. But and imagine my shock and horror when I discovered the menu in this game. Which menu? The Destiny menu with the shitty cursor and I forgot about that. Like, oh god, okay, it's everywhere. Yeah, it's everywhere. It's easier to do. This game that is not actually that successful has somehow influenced everything that's come since, and it pisses me off. I actually, from what I've heard, it's much easier to implement that than other things. So that's why they keep doing it. But even beyond the shitty circle cursor, I mean, also just like the it's very little information, right? Like it's I get it. It's okay. Yeah, I remember, but yeah, back to my previous thing. Nev is a character that I remember constantly being kind of disappointed by. Like I was just like I thought like when I first met her I was like, okay, that's a cool idea, let's see where that goes. And then it kind of like they start to get into like some like cool, like I expected him to go like really like hard into the noir aspect of it, and like I wanted like full blown monologues and shit like that. And I was like, I never really got that. I was kind of bummed. She kind of does it when you first get to Docktown. She does it every now and then they just immediately stop. And I'm like, nah, you could have kept going. It would have been all right. Yeah. Like just keep, that's, I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, I'd be curious if you kept going, but at the same time, I'm not gonna hold it against you if you stop. I totally get it. It's kind of like I said, to me, it's like decisively fine. Even it's one of those games I finished and I've hardly thought about afterwards. But but I liked it. I did like it after all. The ending parts I still think about sometimes. So yeah. And it definitely feels like they are trying to even this at this earlier part, like it feels, and also from what I've just heard from reviews, it definitely seems like they're trying to elicit some of that Mass Effect 2 feel as far as just like the overall like thrust of what you're trying to do, like assembling a team and stuff like that. 100%. That was their influence, it seems, for sure. Well, we'll see how I feel about that. It's kind of like with the Final Fantasy series where they keep trying to recapture that magic of Final Fantasy VI's World of Ruin, and they just fucking fail every time they try to bring it back. Yeah. They're probably never going to do that again. Well, No, they'll do it again. They just won't do it well. Like they did it in 15 and 16. They just did it badly in both of those games. Did they do it in 16? Yeah, they're like it's the whole, there's that part where like, without spoilers, like the sky is now pink and everything's kind of like shitty,
and it was like right at the end though, right?
Yeah. Well, it there's still enough runway on the game where it's like, oh man, like it's just kind of, this game looks really ugly now.
Yeah.
Like that's really, you just put a shitty filter on everything, and this isn't really doing anything narratively.
Yeah, I kind of remember that now that you mention it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The State Select is made possible through the support and funding of viewers like you. Here are our wonderful patrons.
Well, before I continue, Justin, I think we should go ahead and take some time to thank some patrons.
Sure, why not? We can do that.
We appreciate all of our lovely patrons, but every week we like to thank our executive producer tier. And this week, we have Xavier Kreger.
We have Stephen Lobo.
We have Raymond Crum.
You sound very polite. We have Philip Becker.
I'm talking like a Dragon Age Veilguard character.
Oh, there you go.
We have Matt Jorgensen.
We have Game Johnson.
We have Exrian. That's the other thing I meant to mention about Dragon Age, is a lot of it feels like very like super positive YouTuber.
I know.
I half expected Ballara to say like, hey guys, back at you with another video. Don't forget to like and hit that hit that subscribe button.
If any of them would be into that, it would totally be Ballara. We have Eric Peacock. Is that where we're at? I lost track now because I forgot. So
I think it was Exrian.
Well, we also have Exrian. How about that? We have both of them.
Yes. We have Dennis Robertson.
We have David Portnov.
We have Casey Curran, fuming right now.
Yeah, they're fine. We have Bookie.
We have Big Baker.
And we have Addy XD.
Yes. Thank you very much to everyone for supporting us. Got some good executive producer stuff coming down the pike. So
all right.
Looking forward to getting that stuff out. But Justin, part of the reason that I haven't, well, this actually just happened yesterday, but part of the reason that I'm having an issue with wanting to play more Dragon Age the Veilguard is I downloaded Marvel Rivals.
Oh yeah,
the new free to play Overwatch like, but specifically, but distinctly third person, not first person.
Yes,
but otherwise basically Overwatch with Marvel characters.
Yeah,
like they're not even being shy.
No, they're really not.
Yeah, it's really good.
Is it? That's good.
It's really fucking good.
I'm glad to hear that.
Now I gotta say, and I had this issue when I attempted to play Fortnite, and I find it interesting, like what the thought process is for these types of games, because I really feel that you need like a really good onboarding. Like I thought Street Fighter 6 was excellent for onboarding for new players, being like, hey, are you new here? Like, here's some things that you should probably check out, right? And, even like the whole world tour mode was very much like kind of showing you the basics of Street Fighter like throughout the course of the game. And I think even just like a lot of the language in World Tour was very much like, hey, like there's going to be days when things don't go your way, but it's okay. Just get yourself up again and try again. You know, like that type of stuff, but also just like excellent like tutorials, but also just excellent character training stuff that tells you the ins and outs of their moves and stuff like that. There is stuff like that for Marvel Rivals, but it's buried like a couple levels deeper than I feel that it should be. Like basically when you start the game, it's just a menu with all sorts of shit on it. And it's like, what do I do? Like, where do I go? Yeah. And like, I actually started, like, I almost jumped into a match without even like learning the controls, because that's kind of how the game starts you off almost.
Oh,
and
good.
I was like, no, there's gotta be a tutorial in here, surely. And then I did find it. Yeah. And it was fine. But then I did hop into a game and I foolishly picked Wolverine as my first character, because I was like, I mean, you just slash stuff. Like, he's got to be an easy character to use. And actually, no. The melee characters are the tougher ones to use.
I imagine, yeah.
Because you've got to get in close, and at least my experience so far, I do feel that if I have one complaint about the game is that I feel that it's slower overall than I would like it to be.
Okay.
Like just character movement, I feel is slower than I would like it to be. But also, I wish that characters where it makes sense would have some sort of dash or like that you could run type of thing. Like it makes sense to me if like Hulk, you know, if you can't like have him run faster than his normal speed. I did notice that I've seen Hulk players doing his leap, which makes sense because that's actually one of his powers.
Right.
But, you know, like for example, I've mainly just been playing the Punisher, which is a really I don't like that character in the comics, but it turns he's like basically the Soldier 76
pretty much
of this game, and I'm like, okay, yeah, like he's a really he's a 1-star difficulty character. It's like, yeah, I see why. Like, just spray and pray. It's great, but he is slower than I would like. He does have like a zipline move, but I find that to be also weirdly slow, and I feel that like after he jumps off of the zip line, he kind of hangs in the air, and it's like just asking to be shot because he's just kind of there, and it takes a while to drop down. But I feel that way just overall. So when I hopped in with Wolverine, it's like, oh no, this is bad. Like one of his main moves is like this weird leap, and I've only gotten it to hit once because like the trajectory of it is just bonkers to me, and like I just don't. It doesn't work, and it's a bummer because like. So I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the character designs so far, like the costume designs.
Okay.
But I do really like the default Wolverine because he's got this really cool, like, Xavier School college jacket type thing.
Okay.
Of Wolverine's casual looks, it's probably one of my favorite casual looks for him.
All right.
Obviously, I would prefer him to be in one of his costumes, and I think they know that.
I was going to say, they're going to sell you that costume. Just give it time.
But it's weird that there's way fewer costumes available for each character at launch than I expected there to be.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, once I started to play a bunch of Punisher, I was like, okay, well, let me look at the other Punisher costumes that are available. And there's only 3 others.
Yeah.
One of them is just a palette swap. And then one of them is Punisher 29 or 2099. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't care about that one either. And then the other one is the Thunderbolts version of him. And I'm like, I'm surprised that there isn't just like a classic costume like from launch day for everybody.
I'm sure there will be at some point, Julian.
I'm sure there will. Well, but I would have expected that to be like at launch, right? But it's not.
They'll save that, and then what they'll do is they'll go, hey,
it'll be a whole line wide thing,
and for a limited time, Julian. Yeah. So within the next month, you're gonna really need to buy these boxes. Okay, and
not boxes. It'll be a battle pass,
or that one of the two. Yeah, we could do either one, and you're gonna really need to really hope that you open them up and get the thing, or play 100 hours, and the final thing is like, ooh, now you'll get Punisher's classic costume because you played X amount of the battle pass. So
and that's the thing about all of these games because like. It's a free to play game, and I think it's great. And I would love I would like to throw some money at this game for some costumes, but the pricing on it is ridiculous.
Oh, it's nuts. Because they're always nuts.
Like they're about like $20, and I'm like, dudes, I would buy costumes. I would buy so many costumes in this game if they were $5 a pop because I wouldn't think about it. It would just be a thing like, oh, sure, I'm going to throw $5 at this for this character's like whatever costume.
Right.
But at that price, I'm like, no, it's got to be something that I really love, and it's going to be for a character that I know I'm going to be using. And like, even though like I've mainly used Punisher, I'm like, yeah, but like I don't like Punisher. So I want to eventually find a character that I like more than him. So I'm not going to like drop any money on a costume for him. But again, if there was like a classic comic costume for him and it was $5, like I would have already put that money down.
Right.
As it is, like right now, it's like, no, there's nothing that I want to spend money on, especially because
$20 a costume. Wow. Yeah. They are really trying. They're like, yeah, it's free to play, but we're going to get our fucking money out of you.
They're going to get their,
we're going to get
and my other biggest complaint so far is the roster itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, it's a couple things. One, there's more freaks in the roster than I would like.
Okay.
So Willie and Pat had a really good conversation about this with the roster for that League of Legends fighting game.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Because, you know, they were saying like, no, but you got to have the freaks, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, sure, I guess, but like some, you know, maybe not roll them out all like initially. And here it's like, to me, the freaks are, and people may disagree. You've got Jeff the Land Shark, which I've never heard of. Apparently he's tied to Gwenpool.
Okay.
I think a lot of it for me is that a lot of this is like Tumblr Marvel, like it's like
Sure.
like really new Marvel, where it's like a lot of it is just like dumb for dumb's sake. Because I think Gwenpool was literally just like, you know, someone did like a version of Gwen Stacy dressed as Deadpool as a joke for a variant cover.
Yeah.
And now she's a character with lore, and she's had like multiple series, and it's like, oh, okay, sure, I guess, whatever. But yeah, so Jeff the Land Shark is like one of them. You've got Penny Parker, who's like from the Spider-Verse. She's like this like Japanese girl who drives a spider mech.
Okay.
Like, okay.
Is that like Peter
whatever.
Parker's daughter?
No, she's Japanese. Well, actually, I don't know, because her name is Parker.
Her
I have
name
no
is
idea.
Parker. That's where I put that.
I
I'm
have
like,
no idea. I didn't fuck with the Spider-Verse shit.
let's. I know. I'm curious. You got me curious.
You've got Squirrel Girl, who's one of my least favorite like modern characters. And I get that she's a popular character, and of course you put her in there. There's also a character I've never heard of called Luna Snow that's in this game. And again, that's fine.
Is that like the White Queen or?
No, she's just a girl with ice powers. I have no idea.
Okay, well.
And then you've got Cloak and Dagger, which is an interesting take on the character, because you play both of them at the same time. Like you switch them out, which is an interesting mechanic, but it's fucking Cloak and Dagger. And so my thing is like, that's fine. Like those are all fine characters to introduce to this game eventually. But in a game where like certain other like staple characters are not here, like Daredevil, or like fucking Cyclops.
Well, don't worry, Julian. Don't worry. As soon as you lose interest in the game, that's when they'll show up.
I get that. Yeah. But my issue is with like this initial roster. And I think part of it is that it feels very uneven to me. So they've got almost the entire cast of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie in this game. They've got Star-Lord, Rocket, Groot, and Mantis.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. But then for the X-Men, they've got Storm, Wolverine, and Psylocke. And I'm like,
that's kind of
Storm
weird.
and Wolverine,
Sure.
absolutely.
Psylocke,
Right?
kind of a weird pick. Yeah.
Psylocke, kind of a weird pick, but also I'm like, at the very least, you put at least half, if not the entire roster of the giant size X-Men team, which is Storm, Cyclops, Wolverine, Colossus, Nightcrawler.
Yeah, I was going to say Nightcrawler would have some really cool, that would be really a neat thing to implement, actually, with the teleporting. That could be cool. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I need to read this Penny Parker thing straight from our Wikipedia, because I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
Penny Parker is a superhero appearing in American comic books, obviously. Created by writer and musician Gerard Way, lead singer of My Chemical Romance, and artist Jake Wyatt. She is an alternate version of Spider-Man from an Evangelion-inspired universe, piloting a psychically powered mech suit, originally piloted by her own father, known as the SP/DR. I have no fucking idea what's happening anymore. Partially controlled by a radioactive spider named SPDR. That also shares a psychic link with her, the teenage petty. Okay, since she was 9. So it's alternate Spider-Man from Evangelion or something. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's weird.
Justin?
Yeah.
I cannot impress upon you how much I loathe every word that you just said.
I don't know. It was pretty all right, Julian. I thought it was pretty great. I'm having a good time. I'm sorry that you're not.
If we are going to have like certain dark horse picks, right? I'm like, you know, these are not the dark horses that I want. Like I want like Darkhawk, and I want Ghost Rider, you know, as more like C-lister type characters that are a little. I mean, Darkhawk is a pretty super obscure character.
That's pretty,
But Cloak and Dagger is also fucking obscure.
Yeah.
Based on this roster, I would not be surprised if like all of Power Pack got into this game before certain characters that I actually love. I fucking hate Power Pack. And the reason I say Power Pack is because where I'm at in my X-Men reading, they went so hard on Power Pack in the 80s, Justin. Power Pack was all over the fucking place.
Now I have to Google who Power Pack is.
They're a team of kids.
Oh, it's
like I think
okay.
I think the oldest member of the team, they're all siblings. And I think the oldest member of the family is like 12. The youngest is like 6. And they all get like powers from like some alien or something like that. They're awful.
Oh man, this is like the fucking Ben 10 universe of Marvel. This is fascinating.
Yeah.
That's what it immediately, the art for something over here reminds me of. I was like, this looks like Ben 10. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably more modern in like takes on them. But yeah, it
is, I believe. I there's some older stuff here too that I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I see it.
But all of that out of the way to say, it is extremely fun to play.
That's good.
Beyond my issues with like the overall like slowness of the game, because to be fair, I feel that way about a lot of shooters.
Yeah,
I feel that way about Halo. I think Halo is way too slow.
I think a lot of that is balance, especially.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and
especially because certain characters, right, have like super mobility, like Spider-Man and stuff like that. Like I've heard that Spider-Man is one of the hardest characters to use because he can just whip around so much, and you can easily lose control of him. And I totally get that.
That sounds right. Yeah.
I was disappointed that Iron Man, who is like one of my favorites as a kid, I really actively dislike the way he feels because like his repulsor is like. It's almost like a rocket launcher type thing where you've got to like really be good at like firing ahead of where someone's going to make it connect. And also his flying is slower than I would like it to be. And, that also means that like if they ever add Silver Surfer, who's another one of my favorites from childhood, he's probably going to feel the same way where it's like Silver Surfer can fly at the speed of light, guys. Like he should be one of the fastest characters in this game, but it's not going to feel that way.
Yeah.
And it's fine. But I think that like mechanically, like it's all really cool. Like I think it feels great. Like it's really satisfying when you get a kill.
There you go.
Punisher has like a machine gun and a shotgun that he can switch between. And then like he's got this, one of his powers is he just sets down this like turret with like a big shield on the front. He's like hunkered down in place and it's got like a bunch of bullets. It does like crazy damage. And if you can set up in the right spot, or like get like when they're all clustered together, like you just rack up kill. Like I played it for like an hour and I got like 126 kills, and I suck at shooters, Justin. Like the fact that I was able to do that well,
that's pretty
like,
good.
My first night, like I was like, it's kind of fun now. And I was and to the point where I was like, these are real players, right? Like I'm not paired up with bots. And no, I wasn't. Like I specifically chosen like human players. And like the objectives are very like Overwatch 1. It's fine, but they're really fun. And I think some of the characters are really interestingly designed. Like I said, Cloak and Dagger, like you're doing certain things as Cloak and then switching to Dagger and doing other things, which I think is really
cool.
neat.
Yeah.
And then Hulk is a tank.
Mm.
And this is actually a pretty good way of solving it because, and I still think that like, I would like it to be a little bit different. Like I feel a character like Hulk should take a lot more damage before he goes down. But they came up with a really cool way of doing it, where when you take Hulk's health all the way down, he reverts to Bruce Banner, and Bruce Banner's just got like a little pistol like Diva. He's very much like the Diva of the game.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
And you can take out Banner in like a hit or two,
right?
But he's also kind of wiry. So there is a chance for Banner to like kind of slink away, get angry again, and turn back into the Hulk. That's really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Is there a way to just turn into Bruce Banner and back, or no?
I think so because I think I haven't played him, but I remember with Diva you could just opt to get out of the mech.
That's what I mean. Yeah, because I remember using that a few times, just being like, I'm just going to set the mech here and just get out and do some stuff and then get back in or whatever. And
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
And then like, they have like the team abilities, which are really cool. So like, I remember like, from the trailers, like Rocket Raccoon can like hop on to Groot, like on his shoulders, and it gives both of them some sort of buff. Groot has been a very popular character, I've noticed, because he's putting up like big like wooden barriers everywhere, and it makes things like really annoying. So like he's like a really good like foil for characters. Oh yeah, like Captain Marvel's not in this game, which again is a weird thing that she's not there, considering some of the other characters that made it.
Right.
Just kind of interesting, weird picks, I think. I am really loving it. I think I am going to kind of mess around with some more of the gun-based characters. Like I want to try Black Widow and Winter Soldier because I like them better as characters and also just design-wise.
Sounds like there's like an actually pretty decently sized roster though.
So it's got 23 characters, and apparently it has launched with as many characters as Overwatch 1 had when it got pulled. And I'm surprised. I could have sworn Overwatch 1 had way more characters than that by the end.
Yeah.
It felt like they were just constantly adding new people.
It felt that way, but I actually I think that's about right though. Because like, like the original roster, if you think about it, wasn't like that crazy.
No, that's true. It was a relatively small group at the beginning.
It was small, but like really focused. Like everything, made sense or whatever. Like there was like, two of kind of every class or whatever, every, thing that you were trying to, every role, so to speak.
Yeah.
At least that's what it felt like. But not so. Yeah, there being that many, you keep naming them. I'm like, oh, they're in there too. Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, that seems pretty sizable. So, and they're definitely going to keep adding to it. So,
and I am excited to see who gets added and stuff like that. Like I said, my dark horse is Dark Hawk because he's probably my all-time favorite Marvel character that nobody knows who that is. But I love him. Mm. He exists kind of in the same space as like Deathlock and Sleepwalker. Like they all kind of debuted around the same time in the 90s. And like Sleepwalker has had way more chances at success than Darkhawk ever got.
Okay.
And it's really frustrating for me as a comic book fan because when Darkhawk's comic ended, his powers had basically set him up to be the Green Lantern of the Marvel universe, and then they never did anything with that.
That sounds right.
It was very frustrating.
That sounds like about right.
So Iron Fist is in here, and as much as I don't like his design, like it's like, yeah, just dude punching shit, right?
Yeah,
like
why
it's the
not?
Wooly character and I think that's the other really cool thing about this is because it is like all of these like crazy Marvel characters, you run into certain situations. Like I started to realize, oh, you got to look up because like Storm might just be hovering above you, right? And I did, like, there was one match where I was like, I realized, oh, this Storm, she's taking advantage of the fact that people haven't learned to look up yet, but she's also not really like moving around very much in the air. And so I started just like picking her off very easily, like throughout the course of those matches. And I was like, okay, yeah, like there's definitely almost like a Street Fighter level of figuring out what the matchups are and like what to do in this scenario and whatnot. Oh, also Punisher's ultimate is he just grabs, like he comes up with these like two massive machine guns in each hand and like this big harness with like missile launchers on his back.
That sounds
and
right.
And it's just like unlimited ammunition for all of this stuff firing at like all at the same time, and you just mow shit down. It's great.
That sounds good.
Yeah. I'm really impressed.
Nice.
Like it was one of those things where I was like fiending for it like during the workday, and when it came to lunchtime, I was like, I can get a couple matches in, and that's what I did.
There you go. Yeah, I'm gonna guess that it's doing pretty well. So
my Blue Sky feed is like nothing but Marvel.
Yeah. Okay.
Right now.
So it's doing good. That's yeah. So there you go. It sounds good. If it's got you sold on it, then that's a big deal. Because
I cannot impress. Longtime listeners of us know.
Yeah,
I fucking hate multiplayer games, and I'm terrible at shooting stuff. And
right.
And I would actually like to play more of the melee type stuff because that makes more sense to me. But again, I think a lot of those melee characters need better ways to get inside. Like Wolverine doesn't really have a good way. That dude should be able to he should have like a really like effective run that lets him get like his moves do like move him forward,
right?
But not in the way that like you would necessarily want. And it is pretty. He's like way easier to kill than he really should be,
right?
And his healing factor works in a way that I don't find that makes sense. Like you would expect it to just be like a constant regen that kicks in after time, but it's not. It's like this weird like overshield type thing that happens sometimes.
Weird.
I never noticed the healing factor kick in when I was playing as him, and I feel that it should just be a thing where it's like if you disengage for a bit, like you should just start regenning health. Because he's Wolverine. That's just how that should work.
Put it on like a cooldown for balance or whatever, and then
something.
Something.
And then one of his moves should just like automatically activate his healing factor regardless. But it doesn't. It's just it just reduces damage taken.
Something tells me that like they probably did it that way, and they're like, this is actually too good. We should probably
Wolverine should be one of the like
balance. Julian, you can't do it.
But these games are never all that balanced. Let's be fair, right?
Like, but they're trying to be.
They are trying.
That's
Yeah. I really can't wait to see what happens when Cyclops comes out. I just hope that they don't have him dressed up as the terrorist version of him because I hate that version of Cyclops. I hope that he comes out with like. Obviously, they're not going to give him his 90s costume out of the gate.
I was going to say I don't even know if I've seen that version of Cyclops.
Look up.
I'm just looking up Cyclops terrorist because
that'll probably come up.
Is it with the big X over his eyes?
Yeah,
that's terrible. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awful. I hate it. I've never seen that before, but don't like it. I'm not a big fan.
Also, not a fan of his character at the time, just like fundamentally.
Well, that's fair.
But that's Marvel Rivals. It's free. I say check it out if this sounds at all interesting to you. Obviously, if you are susceptible to the pull of free-to-play games, maybe not. But like, I will say that like I saw someone in the Deadpool and Wolverine costume for Wolverine, and I was like, that looks pretty fucking good.
Yeah,
like, and I didn't even really like that costume that much in the movie, but on this character model, it looks really good.
I'm gonna go to your previous point where like I am susceptible to some of that stuff, but it's mostly like gotcha shit that gets me. So this and the fact that they're charging just $20 straight up for a costume, I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't.
And to be fair, it's not all costumes.
Oh, just some of them. Okay,
some of them. And I had to look up a YouTube video to understand how the currency system works because it didn't make any goddamn sense to me.
Oh God.
And I also haven't really seen like how you actually earn stuff, but I'm also super early in the game because I haven't even gotten to the point where I can do ranked matches yet, and I think that's probably where a lot of this stuff starts to come into play.
Possibly, yeah,
because you have to be level 10 before that stuff unlocks. So it might just be a thing where I'm not there yet. So I'll have more comment about that later as I kind of get to know the game a little bit better. But just initial impressions, because I was like, okay, let me look around and see. One, is there anything that I'd even remotely be interested in?
Right,
in the store. And actually, no. Except, like, for Storm, they do have her 80s Mohawk look, which is one of her best looks.
Yeah.
I haven't touched Storm yet, so I don't know if that's even a thing that I would want.
Yeah.
I didn't look at Iron Man yet, because obviously, and Wooly mentioned this as well. He's like, Iron Man could fuck me. Because, just like he's had so many iconic suits over the years, right?
Fair.
And it's like they have so much runway, for him as far as like just releasing shit. Even separating any of the movie designs, right? And I will say that right now at launch there is a big like Marvel Rivals cross Marvel Studios crossover where like any of the characters that have appeared in the movies, there are movie version costumes for all of them.
Right.
I haven't played any characters that have been in any of those movies yet, so it's not a big deal. I really want to play Captain America, but you should not count on me for any type of role. Like, it's the same thing with Final Fantasy 14. Do not put me as the tank or the healer in this party. It's not advisable. Do not rely on me. Just let me, stand over here to the right and slash at things. And
I'm the opposite. I'm good at those roles. Like that was always my shit. Like the one multiplayer like team based thing I got into, I got really good as like a healer and shit like that because because I got frustrated with other people. I'm like, you all suck at this. I'm just gonna get better than you at it. And I figured out how to do it eventually. But yeah,
I definitely had one of the matches that we lost on my lunch break today was literally because I was the only one on the point.
Yeah.
And like I had almost taken, I was at 99%.
Yeah.
And then like the other team like came around behind me and killed me. And it's like, yeah, where were the rest of you? And they came back from behind and won.
Right.
And it's like, I just needed one other person on the point with me, guys. Like, and we would have been good.
Yeah. Yeah. See, when I played Overwatch, I played like when it first came out, I played Diva because like the tank aspect, and I played Mercy. Like, cause I was big. I loved just following people around that I knew. I was like, oh, you're about to get into some shit. All right, here we go. And I would just do that all day. And it was great.
Yeah.
And felt like I was doing good at it, but that was, a long time ago. Then once people were like, once it became an online multiplayer game as I expected it to be, then I was like, okay, I'm done here. But that,
yeah, and this might be a case where I play it really hot and heavy for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay.
Once people figure it out, then it's like, okay, all right, I see where we're going here. Then they start getting mad about certain things and shit like that. But maybe it won't because it might stay a little bit more casual. Like
with it being such a mass market thing and also being free, I could definitely see that staying the case for the most part.
The hardcores might stay over there in Overwatch. They might just stay over there.
Maybe.
I don't know. Hard to say,
Yeah. There's also an element of, people being like not wanting to play it simply because it's Marvel characters, which I get. But at the same time, it's like, but these characters are iconic and fun.
Yeah.
Right. Regardless of how you feel about like that there's too many movies or whatnot. It's like, these characters, like, I gotta say, like, every time that I hear Captain America pop his ultimate and he's like, assemble, I'm like,
that's pretty good.
That's the good shit. That's the real good shit.
Yeah. I don't even care about Marvel, but, like, as long as the game's good, I'll play the games.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
think it's also gorgeous. Like, I really love the look of
I
everything.
remember, like, watching it, like, when they had, like, the beta thing or something like that, and it had a look to it. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying that. That's good.
Yeah. I really want to power through some more Dragon Age, but the call of
dude, don't even worry
right
about
now
it.
because it's like while people are as shitty at it as I am.
Oh,
it's like,
Dragon Age, Dragon Age ain't going nowhere. You're fine.
Yeah.
it's fine. I get it. Yeah.
Well, before we get into the last thing I want to talk about, which is 1,000 Times Resist, I did want to talk a little bit about this other thing.
Okay.
So. This was like the big year where I really got into Hololive as a fan. Like I've dabbled in VTuber stuff like before, but this was really kind of where I kind of discovered Hololive like at all, and have gotten pretty deep into it. Like to the point that like I've never been a streamer guy. Like I usually don't watch people streaming, but it's gotten to the point where like if I'm like eating dinner or lunch or something like that, and I notice that Koseki Bibu. Or Biju, her real name is Biju, but she goes by Bibu. If she's streaming, like I will more often than not just watch her live because I just genuinely find her fun to watch playing video games. She's really good at games,
right? And
she's really entertaining, and she's a lot of fun. And I don't usually do that with streamers,
right? But
just in the last couple weeks, Ceres Fauna, who is from the second English group. It was originally called Council. Now it's called Promise. She announced that she is going to be graduating at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
And she cited problems with management as why she's leaving. She said, it's not because I want to stop doing this. It's not because I don't love what I do. It's issues with management. And that was like literally the day after someone from the Japanese side had also announced that they were leaving.
I feel like I've seen pieces of this, but didn't know what the hell was going on because I'm not in. Yeah, I don't know.
You're not plugged into this.
Not in that loop.
So the Japanese girl is doing a soft. She's doing it's a new thing that they started with Amelia Watson, who had just left a couple months ago.
Uh-huh.
She was from the first English group. Where she didn't graduate, meaning that she's not leaving the company. She became an affiliate, which means that she's still technically available for certain special events.
Yeah.
But then she re-debuted as an independent, as another character, like about a month later.
Okay.
And so that's what the other Japanese girl is going to do. But this has also been a year where, in addition to Amelia Watson doing that, a bunch of people from the Japan side have left throughout the course of the year.
And
it was one of those things where, me being new to it, I'm like, oh, like now that I'm kind of here, it's like, it seems like it was like the really best time to get in because like they had the Hololive night at the Dodgers Stadium where like they had like Gal Gura like saying "Take me out to the ball game," and it kind of exposed like a whole new audience to VTubing,
right.
and like then they had the debut of Justice, which is now like kind of quote unquote my group because they're the ones that I've been here for the beginning of, and then they had like all these big events, like they had that Enigmatic Recollection thing that I talked to you about, where they had that big like RP Minecraft server thing.
Right.
And then right after that, they had this massive like GTA 5 RP thing where
why
like,
not? Yeah.
Certain, and that was Japan and English coming together for that.
Right.
So you had a lot of fun interactions where it was like the language barrier was an issue, but you had like people where they're like, okay, here are the mechanics. Here are the medical staff. Here are the bakers and like the people who run businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Here are the gang members, right? And like they all had to like be in their roles. Here are the cops,
right?
And that was a lot of fun. And so they had all this stuff like one after another. And I'm like, yeah. And from what kind of looking into it, it seems like people are like really like the talent is really happy about like the company, and especially the CEO Yago is actually kind of considered like a really good guy. Like
I see
from both the talent and the fans, like he's like almost a character in himself.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, yeah, this feels really good. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe not. And, it's definitely like a parasocial thing where it's like, we'll never know what's going on. Right. It's hard to say like, how much of this stuff are they forced to do? Right. Was it a matter of going from all of those big events, like one after another, and also, having a live concert in New York that they had to like practice for and rehearse for and then travel for,
right?
And they are always going to Japan, to like do in-person collaborations with each other and stuff like that. So maybe it's just a matter of like, I just want to be able to call my own shots. I have no idea.
Who can say? Yeah, hard to say.
But it is kind of a bummer. So I should say, much like Amelia Watson, I'm not like a big fan of Fauna. Like I've watched her because I like the other people in her group. But she's not like one of my main go-tos.
Right.
But, like as you start to follow more people that are into this stuff, it's like, it's really sad to see like, her audience like have to deal with it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then also it's like, even if she pops up somewhere else as an independent VTuber, she's persona non grata as far as Hololive is concerned. So it's not like they can ever interact again.
Sure.
And that's the thing that really sucks. And I think the best thing that I can describe it to you and also to like more of our audience that is more in the gaming space is the way that like Jeff Gerstmann is over here.
Yeah.
And everybody else is over here. And it feels like the two will never meet again. And it's very sad to me. I love Jeff Gerstmann interacting with the rest of those knuckleheads.
Yeah.
But it really feels like the problem was always Jeff.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say.
And even just hearing him talk, it's like he always seems like he really couldn't give a shit about like it was always about business, and like this was not, like I really do feel that like Alex, Vinny, and Brad are friends.
Yeah.
Right. But like it feels that like Jeff was always like, no, it's business. Like he's almost like that's a bad comparison, but he's more like the wrestling guy of like the Giant Bomb universe, right? Like, because even I listened to a podcast where he was being interviewed about like just Giant Bomb in general, and they talked about Ryan Davis's death, and it was very like kind of whatever from him, and I was like, wow, like it's kind of rough, but I just feel that kind of is his personality. But
I was gonna say
the fact that like it feels
kind of,
that like it seems like they're never going to like do any type of collaboration or anything like that again. It's like sad.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with like Hololive stuff where it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if Fauna pops up almost immediately after she leaves.
Right.
But I'm not going to see Fauna with Mume again. I'm not going to see Fauna with Crony again. And that's some of the best shit. And also a knock-on effect of this is like after Amelia left 2 months ago, Gura, who's one of my favorites, has like she just vanished, which apparently she's done multiple times in the past. But and then also Mume, who's one of my favorites, like she hasn't done anything in like over a month, and it's like start to miss them. It's like, man, like I really got used to hearing this person's voice and seeing them pop up and doing silly shit. And, they're just like kind of gone. And, I was kind of thinking about Nerds Without Pants took a hiatus after my mom died. But I want to say that I had at least, because we released a spoiler cast for Arkham Knight. And I want to say at the end of that episode, I did make an announcement. I could be wrong, but I want to say that I made an announcement that we were going to be gone for a while.
I can't remember.
Yeah, because we were gone for about 4 months.
It was a while. I remember thinking that show was never coming back. I was like this close to just unsubscribing because I was like, I think that one's gone. Like I think they're done with. But yeah,
I never unsubscribe to stuff that I'm hopeful will come back just in case.
I'm the same way.
Up.
Yeah.
I'll leave the feed open unless I know that it's actually
if they announce it's done, then
yeah. So, because I'll look, it's like has Gura tweeted, and it's like no, she hasn't. And then like Mume did say that like she made like one tweet where she's like, hey, I hope that all of my humans are doing well, like know. But that was it. And even when like they announced that her gen mate Fauna was leaving, she just like retweeted the announcement, and it's like, oh man, like and I don't know if that's a corporate thing or how much freedom that they have, but it's like when you have a fan base as large as that, and it is by nature a parasocial type of thing, you kind of do want like just a little bit more like hey, not going, because like a lot of the talent has been like when their first stream after Fauna announced, like they were all like, yeah, like I'm sad about this. I'm not going anywhere. They all kind of they all said that to make sure that it was like, no, I don't have any plans to leave, because it definitely started to feel like it's starting to feel a little rocky over there. Like, is everything okay?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know. It's an interesting thing. And I almost feel like I kind of got in at the wrong time, especially with like now seeing Amelia Watson leave Myth. And I didn't talk to you about this. It was actually one of the now we can really wrap segments when you were gone. I talked to the audience about it, where I kind of likened them to like the Beatles of VTubing, in the sense that like they're a group that like hit really big, and it's the 5 of them, that's like what people know. And with one of them leaving, it's not that like the band is not still there, but it's different, right? And I also find it very weird that like one of them has been MIA like for 2 full months. Another one of them has been having like some sort of issues where she did kind of talk to her audience about like, I'm going to be away for a while, but this is, like and she like pre-recorded some stuff to release.
Yeah.
But then another one from that group said like, well, we're never going to like do a collaboration as the 4 of us,
right? Because
it's not the same. And I'm like, that seems like the worst thing that y'all could do, like for your audience. Like, it seems like, no, like they still want to see the 4 of you together and doing wacky shit.
Yeah.
But all that to be said, one of these days there's going to be some sort of concert where the 5 of them appear on stage and it's going to be lit as shit, right? Like,
sure.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I wish that everybody could experience once in their lives being at a wrestling event when a wrestler that has been gone for a long time shows up.
Right.
Even if you know nothing about professional wrestling, like that energy in an auditorium when that happens is so fucking fun.
Yeah.
And I actually do find a lot of like similarities between like professional wrestling as a like business and Hololive.
Yeah,
like,
I can see that.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
And I'm surprised that like there haven't been like collaborations with like AEW or WWE, because it seems like Up Down Down would be like really into doing something with them, or Kenny Omega seems like he would want to do something. Like, it just seems like obvious that that would happen. But yeah, that's that. It's a weird thing. And I guess also I wanted to talk about it because like I can't minimize enough how much like Hololive has really helped my overall mental health this year, because it's been a really shitty year, and like they make me laugh, and like the music is really fun, and like Callie's most recent album has had a few tracks on there that have like really helped me process a bunch of shit in the last few months, and that stuff is important, and I appreciate them for that. Well, Justin, before we get into like the last thing,
Okay.
I gotta go take care of something. So,
Oh, all right. But what do you gotta like? Is this like a weird, like jerking off thing? Is what's going on?
no, and it's really bizarre that you would like jump to that before.
I don't know.
any
For some
other-
reason, when somebody's like, I gotta, take care of something, I'm like, oh, all right. Well, that's what they gotta do.
it is bathroom related, but
Oh.
it is. It's time to finally like get rid of this demon in the bathroom.
Oh, I forgot we had that.
Yeah, I find it bizarre that you've never run afoul of this thing.
Yeah,
but
no, bathroom seems fine.
you did put me in touch with Jacob Washington, and I
Yeah.
think we've found a solution. I've asked Abramo to meet me in there, and
Oh.
we're going to go try to get rid of this
This
thing.
for some reason keeps sounding kinkier to me, but okay, whatever. Hey, God bless.
I don't know, man. I'm just trying
Well,
to like take care of our auditorium.
I wish you luck then. Good luck.
Thank you. All right. Hey, Abramo, thanks for meeting me.
Oh, hey, yeah, you told me to be here. So I've been here for like 2 hours. Is that too
Oh.
much time?
I mean, have you been okay? I know you're uncomfortable being in here.
I mean, sometimes, I just put like some headphones on every now and then I will listen to, like the Dave Matthews Band,
Okay.
and then, then I'm okay. Yeah.
All right. No, okay. I'm glad nothing really bad has happened to you.
No, there's been some like lighting things going on though,
Yeah?
Yeah, like they're like, flickering on and off. And sometimes like, that over there, it just glows red every now and then. So that seems
yeah.
bad.
No, that does look bad.
Yeah.
Well, can you go ahead and light the incense?
Oh yeah, I brought 3 different kinds. Okay, so there's Nag Champa, which if we decide to smoke pot after this, we can hide it with that. There's some sandalwood, and then there's like some I don't know what this one is. It kind of smells like pepperonis. So which one do you want to use?
I'm more of a sandalwood guy.
Okay, sandalwood it is then, man. All right.
Yeah. And Justin said you can smoke pot. It's fine. So you don't have to worry about
Oh,
it up.
okay. Well, I wasn't going to use it anyway because that'd be a waste of Nag Champa,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, I talked to Jacob Washington, and he has the way to exercise this thing. So,
Okay.
we're just going to do it. Let's see
All
if
right.
this works.
Okay, man.
Death and injury associated with drinking and driving is a national tragedy. It is the #1 contributor to the highway death toll, claiming thousands of victims every year.
Wait, are you doing it right now?
Yeah, I'm reading from the 2006 Chevrolet Silverado manual. That's what Jacob Washington recommended.
Oh, well, he's a smart guy, so okay.
Yeah, I think this is going to work.
Oh,
Brahma.
okay, all
I
right.
think we got it.
Okay, go ahead, man. I'll just sit over here and not smoke pot.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Just keep an eye out.
All right,
let me know if
I'll look around for stuff.
if you feel the vibe shifting, let me know.
Okay.
Alcohol affects 4 things that anyone needs to drive a vehicle: judgment, muscular coordination, vision, attentiveness. Police records show that almost half of all motor vehicle related deaths involve alcohol.
Ooh, that's
In most
scary.
cases, these deaths are the result of someone who was drinking and driving. In recent years, more than 16,000 annual motor vehicle related deaths have been associated with the use of alcohol, with more than 300,000 people injured. Many adults, by some estimates, nearly half the adult population, choose never to drink alcohol, so they never drive after drinking.
Oh.
For persons under 21, it is against the law in every U.S. state to drink alcohol.
Oh, okay. Well,
There are
hey,
good medical, psychological, and developmental reasons for these laws. Yes, Abramo.
it's feeling less heavy in here,
Yeah?
Yeah, like I don't know, I might have done some mushrooms before you came in, but like it's feeling, like things are a little, less weighty in here now,
All right. Let me. Maybe this last paragraph will hammer it home.
Yeah, keep going though. Yeah.
Yeah. The obvious way to eliminate the leading highway safety problem is for people never to drink alcohol and then drive. But what if people do? How much is too much if someone plans to drive? It is a lot less than many might think. Although it depends on each person and situation, here is some general information on the problem. The blood alcohol concentration, BAC, of someone who is drinking depends on 4 things. The amount of alcohol consumed.
Ooh.
The drinker's body weight.
Uh-huh.
The amount of food that is consumed before and during drinking.
Food is good.
The length of time it has taken the drinker to consume the alcohol.
I mean, yeah. Okay.
Yeah?
I feel better.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what we should do? We should open it up and, see if anything happens,
Okay.
Because that's
Go ahead,
usually
man.
when things happen,
Yeah.
So hold on. I got a switchblade just in case anything happens, so I'll protect you. You just stay behind me, okay?
Okay. Abram,
Okay.
we've talked about the switchblades, man. Okay.
No, in this case, it's necessary, man, okay?
Okay.
All right.
I agree.
I bought one just yesterday from a man. Okay. So they'll open the door and looking around here. Okay. There's still symbols and stuff, but I can wash those.
Okay.
There's no lights coming out of the toilet anymore. There's like a little bit of smoke, but that's from the sandalwood, there's nothing we can do about that right
It does
now.
smell good in here now.
Yeah, I know. We should. Can we get like a permanent incense thing for in here?
Maybe.
Okay.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's everything's like tile in here, so I don't know how you can catch that on fire. I think it'll be okay. We should also look into like getting a nice waterfall for in here.
We'll see if it's in the budget.
Oh, okay. Well, look hard. Okay.
I will.
But anyway, yeah, like I'm sitting here and like I don't hear anything,
Nice. I don't either. Yeah, it feels like these halls are clean.
Yeah. I think we might have did it.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, I'll leave you to go ahead and clean up the symbols and shit off the wall.
Okay.
I'm going to go back out there and finish off the show. But I think we did it. I think we got rid of this sucker.
I think so too. Do you want to smoke some pot with me before you go?
No, man. I got the show to do.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I mean that doesn't matter.
No, it really does.
Okay.
Abramo, it's kind of how we pay the bills around here.
Well, I mean, yeah, but like you can do it high. It's okay.
No, I don't trust myself high to go out there.
Okay. Well, that's fair, man. All right. Well, I'm gonna get high anyway.
All right. you do that.
Okay. Goodbye.
All right, thanks, man.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
All right. Hey, Justin, I think we did it. I think we got rid of the demon in there. I think
All
we're
right.
good.
That's cool. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really wish that you were more psyched about it, but I guess if you never ran afoul of it.
It's good. I'm glad. It seems better. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really good for Abramo's health, like mental health. I think it's going to be good for the overall vibe.
I mean, I
in
smelled
the studio.
I smelled. What is that? Sandalwood.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, right?
Yeah, it's
Like the
all right.
Lisa Loeb song.
Is that a Lisa Loeb song? Sandalwood.
Yeah.
Is
It's one
it?
of my favorites.
That's okay. All right. That sounds like that's good. That's good.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
listeners, if you have heard us talk about 1,000 Times Resist, or you have been interested in 1,000 Times Resist from like other sources in the past,
Yeah.
and you have not played it yet and are not interested in hearing any spoilers about it whatsoever, I would say go ahead and click the show off now and then come back later. Because that's the last thing that I wanted to talk about, because I did finish 1,000 Times Resist. But I really don't think that I can kind of get into a lot of my feelings without talking about spoilery stuff.
That's fair.
I just kind of want to have like the freedom to do that. Not to say that this is going to be a full-on spoiler conversation. It's just I want us to be able to not have to worry about tiptoeing around shit. And I thought putting it at the end is the easiest way, because by now if you want to stop. So I did finish 1,000 Times Resist. I actually finished it pretty quickly after we recorded the last episode.
I kind of figured you would. Yeah.
Yeah, mainly because it was like I definitely wanted. I was like, I would get to the end of a chapter or two and be like, oh, I want to see what happens.
Yeah.
Like it was definitely like by the time I was like right before like where it was like, holy shit, like where is this going?
Yeah.
And then really,
I know.
like,
I remember you describing it. I was like, you're like right where it's about to fucking do the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that I'm finished with it, I feel that it's kind of the Lance Storm of video games.
Okay.
Because you know how we've talked in the past about like, the worst thing for a wrestler, be they heel or face, is for the audience to not do anything like when they come out or react to them to their actions in the ring, right? Like if they're a heel and they're not being booed, or they're a face and not being cheered. Like if the audience is just sitting down and watching the match unfold, like that's the worst thing that can happen to a wrestler.
Sure.
I feel that way about 1,000 Times Resist, where I finished the game and I was like, well, that's over.
Yeah.
And I just really felt nothing.
Interesting.
Through the course of the whole thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like I didn't hate it. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But and it's not like I can't believe that like people are considering this like one of their games of the year. It's like, no, it just didn't.
It just doesn't hit for you,
like in any way, shape, or form.
And I've been thinking about this actually, because I kind of figured you were going to have this reaction. I'm not going to lie to you. I've slowly kind of, we've talked for a while, and I've been thinking about this actually, and I think it comes down to, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way, what I'm about to say, but I don't. So I always, and it's going to sound like I'm an asshole right now, but I've always considered myself like, and I think it comes from being like a stoner for a lot of my life, but kind of a deep thinker sometimes, where I will sit down and contemplate the dumbest shit. Right. And that's just what I do. And I don't see you as that kind of person. You're more of a like, kind of like a science-y guy. Does that make sense? Oh,
that's interesting, because I don't think of myself as a science-y guy.
Well, not even so much a science-y guy, but like how to put this? I feel like it almost kind of goes back to like your kind of like upbringing with like religion and stuff like that, where like you came like almost a logic guy. That's what I mean. Like logically, this thing doesn't check out. So whatever.
I mean, there's elements of that to me. I do sit and think about stuff a lot, and I think that's why I was surprised about when I got to the end of 1,000 Times Resist, because really the only thing that I've been chewing on since I finished it was thinking about this conversation.
Yes,
because also since I finished it, I finished editing an episode for Game of the Year where you talked a lot about Iris. And I was like, oh man, if I had finished this game, like it would have been a very different conversation for that part, because I would have fought to get her off that list.
Yeah. I still think they're a very interesting character.
They are an interesting character. I think and I think this comes down to, and maybe this is a matter of like more logic than stuff.
See what I mean? And that's,
well, in the sense that I am very much I guess it's apropos because this comes from fucking Spock.
Yes.
But, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few type of person, right? So like the ending of The Last of Us, to me, I'm like, no, Joel was wrong.
Yeah.
You had the opportunity to fix this,
because logically, yes, you're thinking down the line and in the future and stuff like that. Yes, absolutely.
And it's the same thing here, but I think there's I will say I do find Iris to be a fascinating character, because I've long thought for a while that I think that there's some people that just are bad. Like no matter, and it's not a matter of nature versus nurture. It's not a matter of like how they were raised or anything like that. Some people just come out wrong. And I think Iris is one of those characters.
It's possible.
If nothing else happened in the story of this game or in the universe of this game, like if the occupants hadn't happened, if the illness hadn't happened, if Iris had just gone about her life, she would have just been a bad person that
It's
like
possible.
people didn't want to be around, because she was just kind of always that.
Right.
You know, and I do feel for her.
And that's kind of like why I like them as a character, because it's fascinating, because you never get to see that part. They're just thrust into this thing, and it's and they just kind of, and that's it, you know, that's their life now.
And I do feel for her because like there were aspects of, you know, it does seem that like some of the stuff that was done to her, like in the course of trying to find a cure, was pretty fucked up and informed kind of where she ended up.
Right.
But also it's like, but you literally had the chance to fix this, and your solution instead was destroy everybody.
I don't think they did. They didn't really have a chance to do that. There was no fixing what happened. Like, it happened. Like, humanity was fucked. Like, they were done. Like, where she was at, that was it. Like they go over that in that whole like section where they're basically, they send all the ships underground or whatever.
Right.
Those were distraction ships to make sure that one could go down.
Right.
Because that was kind of their last hope.
But I mean, I guess maybe I misunderstood like the thrust of what they were trying to do, because it seemed like they were trying to find a cure through her DNA.
They are, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think they ever really do. I'm not really sure exactly how that works. It's been a little while since I played it.
They certainly, you know, didn't have the ability to, once she like eradicated the rest of human civilization. You know, like there was no chance to, you know, like I feel that like there was a possibility that something could have happened over time.
At the same time, I think it was kind of fucked pretty much, because I believe the implication is that one of the only people that, when they go back to everything, that lived was her mom, because her mom was kind of also very much like her. And
okay, see, and I did not get the impression that she actually went back to visit her mom and spoke to her.
Oh yeah,
I felt that was a thing where that was like a dream scenario.
No, that happened.
I didn't get the impression that was an actual conversation that took place between them.
It was. They she goes back and basically, that like the I want to say it's after she gets the video, like shortly after the video. I can't remember when, but at some point there she starts talking about like how she wants to go back to the surface and shit like that. And I can't remember, but yeah, she goes back to visit them.
Okay.
And her dad has committed suicide or whatever.
Her dad's committed suicide.
I got that. And now she's talking to her mom, who is like basically completely gone at this point. And she's kind of like from the, like I said, from the sense I got was her mom was like going out and getting all these supplies during all this stuff, because they never come out and say that she's also immune to it, but like,
but they do imply, they
do kind of imply.
No, I think no, I don't. I think they actually. I think she says it, right, because she says like, I'm the only nurse that didn't get sick.
Yes.
Right, and then she says like maybe our family was like we were made to like make it through this.
Right.
So I think that's pretty explicit.
Yeah.
But I guess I didn't, you know, because I also didn't really understand like how the immortality, like I felt that was more an aspect of her communing with the occupants than it was just her DNA.
Yeah, I think that might have been either that, or somehow through the experimentation it just kind of happened, and I don't think they ever get really into how that happens.
Yeah.
That I can remember.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, I do find them a fascinating character. I should ask you this. What ending did you end up getting?
I got two endings.
Okay.
Because I got, I think, what is considered the worst possible ending first. Because I do like the way that it's like choose your own ending type of thing. Mm-hmm. I do feel that like kind of the way that it's presented is a little confusing.
Oh, I loved it. I loved how it was presented, actually.
No, but I realized what my mistake was at like when I got the bad ending. I don't know if you got the worst ending.
No, I didn't.
So I had left the light on over Mauve.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, no, like it seems that, you know, she was one of the old ones and she did help at the end, and it seemed like she, much like Noah, was kind of like a victim of circumstance, but not necessarily a malicious figure. But it was weird because I was getting messages of like, I was like, I wanted to keep the sisters, but it said like they'll be hunted till they're gone. And I'm like, but why? And then there was like another one where it was like, you've chosen, like, because I chose someone and it was like, oh, you've chosen for them to be like this. And it was like, no, that's not what I chose. And so I turned the light off and then I finalized my choices again. And then it still said like bad stuff. And I was like,
interesting.
Well, no, then I don't want that. So I went and turned the lights back on for those people. And I was like, okay. And then, so you didn't, yeah. So, and I think, this was my fault because like it was pretty explicit because then it says like Mauve is dangerous. Like, if you let her stay, like it's going to be bad. And I'm like, well, no, but I mean, I think it'll be fine. So I said, no, this is what we want to do. No, it's like she just kills everybody.
Yes.
Like,
she does.
like the ending is just like you being shot by her and like, everybody else's corpses are like behind her.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So they really meant it.
Yeah.
All right. So then I shut her light off and then I ended up getting the blue ending.
Yeah. Mauve is presented throughout the story as like she is almost like will do anything to get what like her
she's like Knower. She's a lot like Knower.
Knower is another one that is a fascinating character.
Yes.
That she is like that's one that I thought about nominating too because I was like,
I would have nominated Knower over Healer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Healer was my favorite just attitude wise, and that's why I always remembered her. But Knower is a fascinating character, but one I very, very much disliked. Like, I didn't let her live. Oh,
like,
no, me neither.
Like, no, she got to go.
No, yeah. And I even love like the dialogue when when it goes through her stuff when at the very end. Because it's like you have chosen that like some things are too bad and cannot be forgiven. And I was like, yes, that is exactly what I've chosen. What she did is fucked up. Like it is bad. And I really do like the ending of that game for that reason, where it's kind of like the world is going to, we're going to start over, and how do you want it to be? And I'm just kind of like, oh. Okay, all right, I like this. And who do you think deserves a chance, and who do you not want to give a chance to? And I really did like that.
I did really like that aspect of it. Yes. I think I would have tried to get different endings, but the one that I got was probably the worst ending for me because it was like, hey, now go around the entire facility again and look at all these epitaphs. And I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, like you really thought it was a good idea to walk around this area
I have to say,
time.
As much as I did like the ending. Okay, so there's a blue one and a red one. Did you get the blue ending? I got
the blue ending. Okay, I thought there were more than that.
Yeah. There's a lot more. Yeah, there is. But
that's
the
what
two like main ones, there's blue and red, and I can't remember. There's one specific thing that delineates it, and I don't remember exactly what it was. I'd have to look.
It's probably if Principal lives or not, right? Like I would imagine that would be the main factor.
Yes, it's Principal, and I did not let Principal live.
No.
Although they're another one that I find like very complicated and fascinating overall. But yeah, no, I will agree with you that like when you get to the ending, it's like, no, just show me the stuff. There's so many times in that game, and that's on the game itself. Like
it is
the design of it at its core, where it's just like, just show me. Like I don't like you didn't design this particular map very well, and I remember being like frustrated at the end. I'm like, I like all what you're showing me, but just show it to me. I don't need to walk around and do it again. This place sucked. But yeah,
I actually actively had trouble finding the last one, and it was making me angry.
Bro, you and me both. I remember that. Yeah, no, I remember that. Yes. No, you're not alone. You're not crazy. That shit. Yeah, that is. It's when it comes down to the game itself, I really find a lot of faults with it. But I overall enjoyed the ride of it.
We've both said it multiple times, but I wish it was just a visual.
God, it would be, or even if just the space was a lot smaller, like or something. There's a way to do this where it would work, but goddamn,
yeah. Or if there were like changes to it that were interesting. I will say that like, after Iris is killed and, you see the fallout of that, it really didn't go the way that I was expecting / hoping for it to go. Because what I kept thinking throughout the game is like, what it's going to turn out is that the occupants have been gone forever, and like the surface is fine, but Iris has been keeping everybody down here because of her god complex,
Right?
And we're going to get back up there, and like there's going to be like a fucking like human civilization thriving up there. And it wasn't that.
No.
And like when you wake up as Blue and you're in, it's like, wait, where am I right now? And then when you find out, it's like, oh, this was like one of the like kind of biomes that they made for people to not go crazy on these ships. Yeah. And finding out like that you were on a ship that was pretty cool. Cause I was like, there's definitely something going on here that is going to be weird. Because, you know, you'd also have those images of like the Earth being like, you know, entombed in some sort of like cyber cube that the occupants had built. And it's like, yeah, what is going on out there? Right. And you definitely get like I got most of the answers that I wanted. I will say that. And I did find it interesting that it was like, it basically came down to a matter of these aliens like trying to communicate and doing it in the wrong way and not realizing what they're doing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
Like I found that very fascinating. That actually reminds me a lot of there's this sci-fi movie that I watched. It's not Contact. But it was a very interesting sci-fi movie that came out within the last 10 years. I remember like watching it with my girlfriend at the time.
It wasn't. Was it Oblivion?
No, that's a good one too.
Okay.
But this one is all about learning how to communicate with an alien species. It's got Jeremy Renner in it, and I forget who the other actor is.
Let's see if I can find it.
But the whole concept is basically it's all about like these linguists who are trying to learn how to communicate with this alien life that has come to Earth. And it's very fascinating. And I found this to be very similar in that being kind of the thrust of it. Even if I find like a lot of the language used for the communication with the occupants to just be like extremely eye-rolly.
Was it Arrival?
Arrival. That's the one.
Just so we got it.
Yeah. Excellent movie. And I would say like, you know, if you played this game and you liked that aspect of it, like the occupants part of it, that's a really good movie to kind of pair alongside the game.
Yeah.
So I did like that stuff. I did feel, and you know, I talked last time about, you know, it being like a very like pandemic game, and it really did stir up a lot of like bad shit in me mentally again. And I think it is one of the most like depressing like outcomes for a game that I've seen, because really like there's not, you know, I mean, yeah, they can keep cloning themselves, I guess, but like, there's not really like we're just prolonging the inevitable, because like, you know, and even by the time that we get to the ending, it's like, yeah, the machines are almost tapped out.
Right.
So like, we're kind of getting to the end of even the clones. And unless they decide to like kind of get the DNA from some of the other facility people to try to inject new DNA into the situation and then try to actually start procreating, we're done. It's right. And
yeah, it's a problem they never get into in there, but yeah,
it's not. But like that's the reality of like where the game ends, and it's like, you know, one of the things that I love about Horizon Zero Dawn, or the Horizon series as a whole, like is that, and I will say, so also spoilers for Horizon. So if you've gotten this point in this conversation, like, and you're interested in that, click off now, because this is a vital thing.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I love about that series is that, you know, the core of it is we lost, like it ended, like the world literally ended.
Yes.
But somehow we snatched hope out of nothingness and we came back, and there's something so beautiful about that to me. And this is not that. This is like the opposite of that. And
see, I didn't take that kind of negative hope from it, though. And mostly because like they do make it back up to the surface.
They make it back up to the surface, but I'm just saying that, like, you know, even if they somehow keep making it to where they can keep cloning each other in perpetuity, like, I mean, I guess that's
if I remember
life,
right,
but
yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, and it's like you said, they can. There's a chance that they could do that idea that you had. I mean, there's a million different ways.
Because if they brought back Zhao, with nothing, like her strand of hair,
yeah,
and you do get the message that like the suits from the people in the 50. Have preserved their bodies pretty well.
Right.
So there is a sliver of hope that they could take DNA from all of those bodies.
And I keep having this like faint memory of like at the very end, you're talking to somebody on a helicopter and it's a dude.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
There is that. So maybe.
So yeah, like because I remember that being like, oh, stuff is happening. Stuff is like going on. And that's
you're right. Yeah. I kind of glossed over that in my head when it was happening.
Yeah.
So maybe it is a lot more hopeful than what I initially perceived.
I feel like it doesn't give the vibe of like, oh yeah, no, all hope and despair, or it's nothing but despair from here on out. Like, yeah, they make it to the surface.
To be
but
fair,
it sucks,
that wasn't what like the game told me outright. It was what I was extrapolating based on what I knew of what had happened before. I was like, it's great that they made it to the surface and they can kind of touch grass,
right?
But because also it's like, is there any animal life left?
Oh, it's hard to say.
Yeah. Like what even is up there, right? Although they don't seem to need to eat, so like they're all of their nutrition is done like liquid wise.
Yeah, for the most part. So,
although after Iris dies and like there's that big breaking. Now there is this like cottage industry of people making food for people.
Yes.
Right? Like it's kind of this black market thing.
Yes. I will always find that game fascinating, and I personally like it a lot. And a lot of it comes from like me, like a lot of it comes from the characters that I don't like Iris and stuff.
Yeah,
and Knower and stuff and Principal. Like
Iris is up there with Ted Farrow of like,
oh yeah,
fuck Iris.
Oh yeah,
right. And that, but again, that's like,
but there's a debate to be had, and that's what I like about it. Like there's a debate to me on all of them, like to some degree, right? Like there's parts of Iris where her story where they show you and you're like, damn, yeah, that sucks. Like that sucks for them. Like I can kind of, and then by the end of it, when she gets killed, like she's so far out of it, like and you're just like, oh, that person is gone. They are gone. Like there's nothing left. They are just like a talking
high on their own supply.
Yes, pretty much. They are done for. You don't know what the hell they're seeing or where they're even at in their own head. They are gone. Principal is one where they have like such an interesting arc where they start off like you have a lot of sympathy for because they start out as the first watcher, and you're like, oh man, that's bullshit what happens to that character. And I do love how that is presented, where it's like, oh yeah, Iris is super shitty, like, and she's got to fucking go, and it's all shown to you so that the character will go and kill the killer, and then it's like, but actually, hey, thanks for doing that for us, and now we switch it up, which I really did like, and then they show the other foot of like, no, actually, this is the full thing, and I really do like that.
Yeah, I mean, there is a debate to be had there. I still, fall on the side of like, no, she was just a genuinely bad person, like from the jump, and there wasn't much fixing that. The way that she treats Zhao and
oh yeah,
just like other people in general, and like she kind of reminds me a little bit, like she comes across a little bit as like a narcissist, where it's also like she's not aware that she's a shitty person.
And see, I think a lot of that comes from her being that age, and being in high school, and being basically trying to be cooler than what you actually are. I don't know, for some reason I can relate to that. I've said
many times in many different venues that like I don't want to lose connection to what it was like to be a teenager.
Yeah.
Because I think that when you lose that connection, like you lose empathy for
Right.
like newer generations and stuff like that.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but like, you know, I was able to get through my life without microwaving a hamster. Like I never even,
No, I
like,
know.
I never would have even thought of doing
that one's a bit
you know,
extreme.
Like,
yes.
yeah. But I think that is like a really good indicator of like who she always was.
It's possible.
You know, and I forget who I was talking. There was someone that I was thinking about, not related to a video game, like a real person, where I was like, no, yeah, some people just come out wrong.
Yeah.
And it was some news story or something, and it was like, oh, they had done this, and this, like, you know, throughout, and it's like, yeah, some people, like, sometimes it's like, no matter what you do, like, there's no helping, there's no rehabilitating, there's no reaching some people. Like, some people just are wrong,
right.
And I feel that Iris is one of those characters, and I find that fascinating to see that represented in a video game, because I don't think that I've ever seen that before. Yeah. And again, that might just be my interpretation of the character.
Oh, and that's a fair interpretation. That's kind of what I like about it. See, like I look at her as basically like, I can relate to her on the high school level of like, okay, you've almost had this friend thrust upon you of Zhao, who's great. I love Zhao.
Yeah.
But also I could see her, like, the cool character of Iris in high school being like, I gotta get this girl away from me. She is fucking dragging me down.
There's another aspect that neither of us can really comment on, which is the fact that the reason that this friend is kind of thrust upon her is because she is a recent transplant from Hong Kong, and they have that in common, but that's really about all they have in common.
Yes, exactly. And so that there's that aspect. And and the microwaving the hamster part, it is always fascinating to me, because like, yeah, you can interpret it as like, oh yeah, no, they were always kind of terrible.
Yeah, I mean, once that happened, because I had forgotten that you had mentioned that in the Game of the Year thing.
I did.
But then once it happened to me in the game, I was like, that was the moment when I lost any sympathy for her.
Yeah.
And there was really nothing that she could have done to recover from that.
Right.
And it's not even a matter of like that I value animals over people. It's just that tells me a lot about someone. When they can commit like violence to like an innocent animal.
It's sociopathic behavior for sure.
Yeah,
100%.
And again, you know, like I'm a meat eater, so like I know that there's like hypocrisy.
No. I get it. But, it's different when it's a fairly domesticated animal like that.
Especially when you have shown what is, at least on the surface, some sort of affection for this animal beforehand. Right.
Yeah, it's serial killer shit for sure. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually, now piecing that together, it's actually fascinating. It's almost like, yeah, you're right. It is kind of like, yeah, oh yeah, if she is one of the people that, you know, indeed came out wrong or whatever, it adds this other aspect to it of like, what unfortunate thing to happen to the human race that this is the only person that could save them, right?
Yes.
You know, so there's that aspect, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, you know, it's, I can totally acknowledge, like, again, it's definitely not the Nier Automata thing where I don't understand where you're coming from, or like, you know, I'm getting the sense that this is probably pretty high up there for you.
Yeah, pretty high.
I've definitely seen murmurings for the people who've played it. Like, it seems like it's really high. Because so like, I will say that like this week Wooly announced that he's going to do this as a Let's Play.
Yeah.
And like the first like thing that I saw was like, oh, you're going to cry. And I'm like, okay, I cry a lot in video games. This didn't move me whatsoever. Yeah. Like at any point.
It got me a couple times for sure. Mostly because it definitely got me with because even though like Iris is tough to sympathize with sometimes, but her dad isn't. Her dad is fucking great.
No, yeah, I think I take it back. I think the dad stuff actually did get me a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever actually cried, but I got close simply because, you know, I mean, I don't have a good relationship with my dad, but in this scenario, he's more of the mom type character. And so I could kind of map him to my mom.
Sure.
And seeing her be shitty to her dad
Yeah.
Was like that hurt me on behalf of him.
Yeah.
Because I could tell how hard he was trying. And his message to her is like really powerful.
Yes, it is.
You know, the part where he was like, it was hard to love you at first.
And it's funny, like, so I talked about, you know, like at the end, how she's kind of like totally gone and out of it. And I think a big aspect of that is her going back. And then there's a lot of moments where she is by herself. And that's like, you know, toward the back half of the game where she is definitely regretting a lot of shit that she did. And like having a lot of that, like, I fucked up. Like how much she's like craving her dad's old noodle recipes and shit like that, and wishing and kind of going, I should have maybe not done a lot of the stuff that I did. And I find that fascinating. I love that game, but I get it. There is a lot of like out there deep thought shit in there too. So I could see.
Yeah, and you know, I think one of my issues, I think, definitely, since I was about 26, I think, is coming to grips with the fact that I'm not as smart as I was told that I was when I was growing up.
You're plenty smart. You're smarter than me.
No. I'm dead serious when I talk about this.
Okay.
And it's funny because like I had a conversation with my dad this week, and that's been an ongoing thing where I'm trying to understand him. And I actually talked to him about his childhood, and that actually like illuminated a lot of shit for me.
You'll have that, yeah.
Right. He talked about how like he was the only one of his siblings that like studied and like tried really hard in school, but he did all of that and he was a C student, right? Like he was, and that was kind of his whole life is that like he tried so hard and never really like got anywhere with anything, honestly. And he always like in his memory, he thinks that like I was a all A's student, like did really great in school, because he only remembers first grade through sixth grade.
Yeah.
And the thing is that like, my parents read to me from pretty much the time they brought me home from the hospital. And so by the time I got to first grade, I was reading at around a fifth grade level.
Right.
Which is cool. That made school extremely easy for me.
Sure does. Yeah.
And it made me look really fucking smart.
Yeah.
But I never learned how to study or never learned how to try.
Yeah.
And so when things started to get difficult, which was right around math in seventh grade was the first indication that there was something wrong. And then I just was never able to recover from that. But it wasn't, and I had issues with that in school for sure, like coming to grips with that, but it didn't come to a head for me until I started to talk to people who did not grow up in the Texas public school system.
Yeah.
And it was actually Final Fantasy 11 that started that, where it's like I had my friend in New Jersey who was like, you know, she's 11 years younger than me, but like she's so much smarter than me. And like she was telling me about stuff that she was doing in high school and stuff that she was studying. And it's like, yeah, we never got anywhere close to that in my school.
Hey, look, man, Ohio ain't much better.
No. And
me.
so it's a similar thing for you, right?
Yeah.
And I do think that plays a lot into it. And you know, so, and then when the first podcast started, so, you know, Rob is like a very smart college educated person. Patrick is a very smart college educated person. And then there's me.
Yeah.
I would constantly feel like, oh, I don't even know what the fuck these guys are talking about right now. Like, I don't understand a word that these guys are saying.
Right.
And then sometimes it's a lot of that way with Mike Fallick, right? Mike Fallick's one of the smartest guys that I know. And sometimes like he'll go off on something that's like, I have no idea what you're talking about right now, my dude. Like, you've got to talk to me like I'm a child. And so that has been an issue with me for some of these games where, and it's like I said last week, it's like, I don't know if it's a matter of this game is really deep and I'm too dumb to understand it.
It's not that.
Or it's trying to be deep and like it's saying like a lot of like really like flowery things in flowery ways, but ultimately not saying anything of meaning. And again, I can't say.
Yeah.
All I can say is that I came away from it and I was like, well, that's certainly a game that I played in 2024.
Yeah.
Like it is a video game of 2024.
Yeah. No, I get it. No, when I was talking about that earlier, it was not an implication that you were not smart enough to get it, Julian. I need to make that very clear.
No, that's not what I was taking from it. I'm saying that this is something that I'm owning up to.
That's how you're feeling about it, but I don't think that's the case.
But I'm saying this is something that I've struggled with for like half of my life at this point. You know, and I've said it a lot on this show, especially. I've said it more this year than I think I've said it any other year, where it's like I'm too dumb to know this or that, because like I really feel stupid most of the time, and it's why I don't comment on a lot of like deeper issues, because like I'm not smart enough to really like be able to put my 2 cents in, or you know, it's like
I stay away from that stuff, buddy. Yeah,
I will listen to people talk about it, people that are much smarter than me, and I'm like, I'll kind of nod my head, and be like, I kind of got about half of that.
Yeah,
but like, you know, a lot of times I do feel like a character in Idiocracy and not the main character. Like I feel a lot like just the people walking around in Idiocracy.
Yeah.
It's like, stop, I'm baiting.
Right. Well, yeah, no, I when it comes to stuff like that, like I've always got into like deep thought bullshit, like real philosophical stuff. I don't, there's a lot
and I like that stuff too. Like, you know, I've talked many times about how like, you know, the writings of Robert Heinlein really kind of like fundamentally changed my worldview and kind of got me thinking in different ways about different things. And, you know, and I think one of the things that I've loved about video games in the last, like, you know, like since around, like, about 15 plus years, like since about BioShock, right? Like that's kind of was kind of like the beginning of it for me. Like that's the game that got me, that kind of cemented that I wasn't going anywhere. Because as I've said to you before, it's like I really thought that I was going to be getting out of video games at the end of that generation. Yeah. Because I kind of felt that I knew where they were going, and where they seemed to be going was just all GTA wannabes all the time. That's all we're going to do from here on out.
That was a big fear I had for a long time. Yeah.
It was a rough patch there for about 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, it really was bad.
And then it was like, I say a double whammy, but it was really a triple whammy. It was BioShock, it was Mass Effect, and it was Portal. Where I was like, oh, this is different. Yeah. Then this is something that like I can chew on. And, you know, like I read an Ayn Rand book after I finished BioShock, because I kind of wanted to know what the
basis
genesis of that was. Yeah. And I was like, okay, like, you know, I can definitely see where like Andrew Ryan comes from because of this. But at the same time, I was also dumb enough where I was like, oh no, there's some good points in here, you know, because like I kind of took the wrong message away from the book.
We've all been there.
I read The Fountainhead, by the way, but at the same time, it's like at least it got me thinking about that stuff. Games didn't really make me think about that type of stuff. And then, you know, like some of the Kojima stuff, right? Like I still think long thoughts about Death Stranding to this day. Where I just sometimes sit down, it's like, man, like the more I think about that game, the more
it's funny. Like, I feel like both of our deep think genres are very different, because Death Stranding does nothing for me on that category. And
I can totally get it.
I listen to him and I'm like, shut the fuck up, man. Like there's so many moments in that, like, where I'm just like, you know, it would have been just great if you just didn't explain what you just did. Like you can just leave that sit on the table. It's okay. Like,
and that's why I always find it funny how like people's like number one criticism of Kojima's writing is that like his stuff doesn't make sense. And it's like, he literally lays out every goddamn point like 15 times.
And that's my biggest criticism of it. Is I'm like, dude,
and it's my criticism of him as well.
Like
sometimes less is more, Hideo. Like,
God, turn the podcast off now about Death Stranding. Spoilers for this. It's actually not really that bad. Amelie, I was like, as soon as he goes into that, I'm like, dude, don't, just stop, just please stop. I could figure that out later. Just don't explain the metaphor. It's okay. Just shut up.
Yeah.
Like, oh man.
Because it is fun when people put those pieces together themselves after the fact.
That's the fun part of that sort of writing. But he's just like, no, I really want people to get it. Like there's just a point where he's just like, it feels like he's just in the back of the camera, just looking at you like, do you get it? And I'm like, I do unfortunately get it, Hideo. Yeah. I'm starting to wish I didn't, but here we are. Yeah. But yeah.
Oh man, there's gonna be so much more like new bullshit in the next.
Oh
game
my
next year.
god,
can't
I
wait
don't even know if I can make it through a Death Stranding.
Justin, no,
2.
you gotta. I want to talk to you about Death
God
Stranding
damn
2.
it. I don't know if I can, man. I don't know if I have it in me. Oh boy.
You know you're going to.
I probably will.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
But that is 1,000 times resist.
Yeah. I love it. Julian kind of lukewarm on it. Mostly cold.
Yeah.
Mostly cold.
Mostly cold. I'm glad that I played it.
That's fine. Yeah.
I'm glad that I can speak on it. You know, it'll be interesting when we get to the final Game of the Year episode, because I know that you have at least one champion in your corner, if not two on this one. And it'll be interesting.
That are just unique to me. I mean, look. That I don't think anybody else played, or
no. What I'm saying for this game, you have at least one person who's going to back you hard on this one, if not two.
I don't know if if either of those guys played that shit.
No, one of them definitely did, and it's high.
Oh, good. All right. Well, I'm a little bit more confident going, because I was like, oh god, I'm gonna have to convince 3 motherfuckers, and one of them hates it. Oh Jesus Christ, this is gonna fuck me.
And I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. All right.
You know, I was just kind of left like.
Listen, Julian, don't worry. It's not number one for me. Okay, it's not number one. Don't worry.
If it was, that would be really, really hard, because I've got a couple of games that I'm really passionate about that I know no one else is going to back me up on, where I'm like, if I can just get it on the list. Yeah. Like, even if it's
I have a few
10.
I have a few like that for me too. Like, I'm like, if I could just get it in there, that'd be all right. No, my biggest criticism 1,000 times is just playing the game itself, just playing it as a video game is painful. Like,
yes. I wouldn't go as far as painful.
Sometimes.
I never, at least for me, I never felt painful, other than that last bit with the ending where I was like, this is too far.
I felt navigating the map is so fucking annoying. And there was a lot of times where I was just like, oh my god, I gotta do it all over again, because I gotta go talk to everybody. But I want to see this stuff. But oh my god, like, and then I would. I will say that, like, I at least,
like, I really learned the area pretty well.
By the end, I had it down. But yeah.
And it was pretty early for me that I kind of got it down. And I really liked that I saw, like, I definitely missed stuff, because I did not get the achievements for talking to everybody in every chapter.
I think I didn't either. I think I might have missed 1 or 2 people in a couple. Yeah,
always. Like, I think I only got that achievement for like 1 chapter.
I think it was a couple for me, but I think I definitely know there was one where I missed it. And I was like, I don't know where the hell they were. So.
Yeah, but I'm glad that I at least saw, like, all parts of the play that those people were working on, and then seeing, like, what happens at the end, like when the attack happens, was like really it's like, oh man, that I kind of feel for them a little bit, right. Stuff, and like the whole saga with the unlucky Shell, who then ends up, like, in a position of power in the aftermath, was pretty interesting, right? So I was interested in getting all that stuff. Yeah. But it wasn't painful for me. It was just, like, annoying.
There were certain parts where I think, because I was into it, was why I was like, oh my god, just let me see the next thing. Like, why do I have to do these little, like, warp puzzle bullshit things? I hate these. Like, I don't like them.
Oh yeah, that
see what I mean?
Oh. I will say that, like, and then when they add a timer to it at the very end,
god,
I'm like, fuck you guys.
I said the same. I was like, why do this? Yeah. Why?
And I barely made it, dude.
Oh, me too.
And I was like, if I have to do this a second time,
I
might just watch the rest on YouTube.
You see what I mean? Like, that's what I mean about the game part. Like,
yes. You're not wrong.
My 100% theory about this game was they started it out making an action game. Like, I feel like that game had combat at some point. And then at some point they went, we don't actually have an action game story here. What if we just took all of that out? And it's not that good anyway. So what if we just pare it down to this thing? And they just went with it. And like, that's my theory on that game. I would love to know why they did what they did there.
I could see that, like, if you do put action in it, then you get Eternites, which is a game that I talked about last year that I didn't end up finishing, but has kind of a similar vibe and has, like, just, like, really mediocre combat in there, and it's like you probably could have just done without this.
See what I mean? Like, yeah. I feel like it's they made that decision. They're like, what if we just cut it out and just told the story? But like, we have the bones of a game here. We can keep all this. It's fine, and but let's just get rid of the action. It's not that good anyway. So who's gonna really notice? And it's
also a game that I would recommend to people. Like, it's not a thing where I'd be like, because I didn't get anything really out of it that I don't think other people should play it. I think if you look at it, like, you'll get a really good indication on if the game is for you. And I think it is probably worth checking out. And usually I like these types of games a lot more. It's just this one just kind of didn't land for me.
That's fair. That's totally fair. It's it's like any.
But I liked having this conversation about it.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I like about the game overall. Is it has a good conversation that comes along with it. Like if somebody else has played it, you can kind of go, but what about this? And even if you don't agree, it's like a good movie. I feel like even if you don't really care for the movie, you can have a nice conversation with somebody about why they didn't like these things.
Yeah.
And that's always good. Neva's French as fuck, and I hated it, but other people will love it, and I can see why they would like it. But God, I hated it. I got to the end of it, I was like, I don't fucking get it. What? Oh man, but see, here's the thing. I would be like, Julian, you should play Neva. You might like it. I don't know. You might actually really dig it. It's cool. It's very pretty.
I think in light of what I've gone through in the last couple of months, I just can't.
Yeah, maybe don't. Maybe hold off. Play it like a year from now, and when it's on Game Pass or something.
I almost thought of going back to Spiritfarer, and then I thought about like the one character in Spiritfarer that gets to me, and I was like, no, I don't think I can ever go back.
Yeah, I bought that recently because they have like the big fancy.
They added like DLC to it. Like there's new characters in there.
Yeah, it was the
shepherd.
Big what's it called?
The Farewell Edition.
Farewell Edition. That's it. Yeah, it was like $5 on a sale or something like that. It was really cheap. I remember. I was like, oh yeah, why not?
I do feel that I should buy it just to have it permanently in my collection. Yeah, I played it on Game Pass.
Yeah, me too. And that's why I was like,
I kind of want. I was like, no, that was my game of the year that year. I should really go ahead.
It was a good
buy
game.
It so that
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that was a fun episode, Julian.
Yeah, I think that's a show, Justin.
I think so too.
Yes. You can find us on that there internet.
Yeah.
Justin.
You can find me on twitch.tv/TyroneSwift, place where I play video games. I don't know what I'm going to play pretty soon here. I was sick last weekend, so I didn't do anything. And also my sister was here. It was very loud. It was a culmination of things. I was like, I'm not doing it tonight. That's not happening.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to.
Yeah.
Then also after this episode comes out, you will not be streaming because we'll be recording our big Game of the Year top 10 list episode. So
yes. Yeah, that'll be a whole thing. But then after that, we're done. So you're free and clear. But see, here's the thing. But there will probably be a new like YouTube thing at Tyrone Swift TV on YouTube. Because I'll probably have streamed the night after this recording right now, unless I have something that I've completely forgotten about. That we were doing.
But then also after next week, like you will also have the ability to stream on Fridays if you so choose, because your Fridays will be wide open for a while.
Very true.
Yeah,
and who knows? The future is my oyster. I don't know how that goes. Also,
never had oysters.
Me neither. They seem terrible, don't they?
Yeah, because I think they're always served cold. Yeah, it's just like you kind of
looks like
out of there.
Somebody described it as like snot-like consistency, and I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to. I don't need to deal with that. That sounds awful.
I'm fine.
Maybe I'm way off, oyster fans. Prove me wrong, but that's what I heard. So it's.
I remember I bought some caviar one time because I wanted to try that, and I was like, well, this is kind of a nothing thing. Like, pretty.
Is it just like
extremely underwhelmed?
Is it just like really salty or something?
Yeah, if my memory serves.
Yeah,
it wasn't anything to write home about.
Right.
I much prefer like Masago on sushi.
Yeah, like roe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That shit's good. That shit's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, also on Blue Sky, Tyrone Swift on bluesky.com Blue Sky. I don't know how that. I don't
Just
know
search for
how
Tyrone Swift. Yeah, Blue Sky's
I
weird.
don't know how the link goes.
Yeah. You can find me. I'm still on Twitter at Julian_Titus. I'm just on there way less these days. The show is still on Twitter at Stage Select Pod, although I am deeply considering getting rid of that thing because it's like the traffic is like non-existent at this point.
What is it? Twitter?
From the Twitter profile.
Oh, yeah. Ugh.
Oh, yeah. If you have comments, questions, or concerns, you can email us. The email address is thestageselectpod@gmail.com. You can also comment on Patreon, even if you're a free member, or on the YouTube versions of the show, or join our Discord, which the link is in the show notes. That's the easiest way. Even if you throw stuff in there, now that we're getting to our hiatus, like we'll catch up on them when we get back. Yeah. So don't worry about that. We, sometimes we just bank them for a bit and then knock them all out in one fell swoop. You can also find me on Blue Sky, just Julian Titus. Special thanks as always to the wonderful Megan McDuffie for our theme song and interstitial tracks. Thanks to friend of the show, John Gholson, for being our announcer and our artwork. But that is going to do it for this edition of the Stage Select. I've been Julian Titus. He's been Justin Ham. We've been the Stage Select. Signing off.
Uh-huh.
The Stage Select is copyrighted and owned by Space Monkey Mafia Productions, specializing in independent podcasting. Please consider sharing the show with your friends and support us by joining our Patreon or donating to our coffee. Thank you, and good night.
Hold on, wait 1 second. Animal, come here. Hold on, I'm gonna make her roll over.
Inspect toes.
I won't be able to hear you for a second. Hold on.
Okay. Can I talk about how cute Mume is again? Look how cute she is when she's talking to an animal.
Hold down. Oh, you don't have to do that.
Cute. Don't you wish you could be animal?
You don't have something. No. You don't have any compass there either. Huh? It's for you. It's for you.
I just want to listen.